everybody. Welcome to Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast. I am Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
Now, I said Idio Talk, a Radiohead podcast, but is Idio Talk still a Radiohead podcast at this point?
Yes, I think so. I mean, but we are reaching the end of some things, as you said. I think it was during our A Moon-Shaped Pool episode, if I'm remembering correctly. Now we're really reaching the end of some things, Walker.
Yeah, I know. I've been teasing. I've been really elongating this goodbye for a long time. And this is actually a topical joke that I had when Brexit had been voted on, but then just kept not happening. I was like, okay, so you have an Irish goodbye, which is where you leave without saying goodbye to anybody. But then you have a Brexit, which is apparently where you say goodbye to everybody, but then just stay. And I feel like we have kind of been doing a Brexit on this podcast where for the last several mini episodes, I keep going, wow, we're really at the end of some things, aren't we, Zach? I think I just want kind of like Huck Finn at his funeral style. I want our listeners to kind of be mourning us while we're around to see it.
That's Tom Sawyer, but yeah.
Didn't they both do it? They both did it.
They both do it, sure, yeah.
But it sounds like
it's Tom's
Huck
idea.
Finn. Oh, okay. That sounded like I guess it's a little kind of conceptual for Huck Finn.
Totally, yeah.
Huck Finn is more about like using slurs.
Yeah, I just read, well, Tom is too, to be fair. But I just read Thom Sawyer and Huck Finn
Not
last
Thom
summer.
Yorke.
No, come on. No, of course not.
Okay, just when we talk about Tom, we got to be careful. And we got to be extra careful on this episode.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We got T squared.
I can't believe this early in the episode we're bringing a third Tom into the conversation. This is a nightmare. But please, you were saying.
Oh, no, just that I had read Thom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn as a kid, maybe in 7th or 8th grade, as sort of prescribed reading. But last summer, I read both of them in a row. And have you done that as an adult or no?
I am afraid that the only Mark Twain that I have read is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and it was in high school, and it affected me at the time. I can't say that I remember too much about it, but had a really good English lit teacher who was able to highlight the themes in a way that I don't know that I would have been, the themes and social commentary in a way that I don't know I would have had the savvy to pick up on at the time. So it was a really cool experience reading it, but I don't remember much else about it.
Yeah, Thom Sawyer just goes by like that. You know, it's sort of Animal Farm to 1984 is like the comparison I'd make. Like both are great. Both sort of are conceptually commentating perhaps on the same sort of ideas and satirizing the same things. Huckleberry Finn is very dense. There's a whole midsection with the Duke that I won't go into, but there's a whole midsection that is laden with irony, and it's also too when you read an author 2 books in a row, one of which is 4 times the length of the first one you read. You can get a little bit bogged down. So I definitely look forward to reading it again. Really, really, really good stuff.
I do love that they take place in a shared universe. Does other Mark Twain material take place in the Huck Finn, Thom Sawyer universe?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, those are the only 2 Mark Twain anythings I've read. I know that he wrote a couple essays, and I read one of them, but yeah, that's all.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a proto-View Askew universe that Mark Twain was doing, where you got all these, it's like, uh-oh, here comes our old, I guess Huckleberry Finn would definitely be the J of the...
Oh yeah.
Of the Mark Twain universe. And I don't know. I guess would Jim, as I will call him, be the Silent Bob of the Huckleberry universe, or would Thom Sawyer be the Silent Bob, his smarter
I think
friend?
Thom Sawyer would be the Silent Bob. I feel like Jim would be like Ben Affleck or something.
and not one of the specific characters Ben Affleck played in the View Askew universe, but just Ben Affleck.
He's just sort of always Ben. I mean, even if he has a different name and in all the well, no, not as I don't know if he's Loki or the other one in Dogma, but
he's Bartleby. Matt Damon is Loki.
outside of that, but like I'm thinking like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when he just like pops in to educate them on the internet and
right.
No, and then he's a definitive character in Chasing Amy. What the fuck am I talking about?
He's in a lot of Kevin Smith movies.
Oh, Kevin Smith gave him his career.
Yeah, I didn't.
No. He didn't give him. Ben Affleck is a.
He was instrumental.
I'm going to let you take over. He was instrumental in popularizing him. Yes.
He was the one who got the Good Will Hunting script to, I think, Harvey Weinstein. I think
he did, and there was a rumor floating around for a long time that he co-authored it, and Kevin Smith came out and publicly and was like, "I did not write this," which I think is so cool. Because obviously you tell the truth, that's it's good karma, whatever. But I just think, when it comes to authorship and writing and all that, it's not to say that writers are any certain type of people, but I just think because what that did for Ben and Matt's career, I just think it's really cool. Obviously he stood by his buddies. I know that those guys are all really good friends to this day. But yeah, I mean, it was beyond a rumor, and he came out publicly on the record, and I don't know. I just always found that cool.
And aren't unexpected collaborations what we're here to talk about today, Zach? Now, before we started recording, you hit me with hey, take a look at what I'm wearing, people. I see right there you have on a shirt of a band that I've never heard of. I'm going to pretend that we haven't mentioned this band like a zillion times throughout the podcast.
Sure.
A band I've never heard of called The Smile. Now, this sounds like some sort of candy pop band, or is it this must be a boy band from damn South Korea, as far as I'm concerned, with a upbeat name like The Smile. Now, of course, I'm joking. We are here to discuss The Smile's debut record. If you are a fan enough of Radiohead that you're listening to this podcast, or even if you're not a fan of Radiohead but you have been listening to this podcast, you are probably familiar with what The Smile is. I will say I also have a Smile t-shirt. I am not wearing it right now. I am wearing my Golden State Warriors basketball shorts, which I feel
so sick.
Thank you very much. I sent Zach a selfie of just like, can we take a moment to just acknowledge how hard I'm rocking this fit right now? But I am wearing those, Zach, as a tribute to when The Smile played in San Francisco. And we saw them. So we are both connected.
Their first and last appearance.
Look, we got it. That's a good tease because we will get more into that next episode when we discuss the specifically the show we saw, but I think kind of the tour that the North American tour The Smile went on in general last year in late 2022, and all the material that was debuted that is not on the album we're here to discuss today. But in any case, why don't we reset? We talked about The Smile very early in the podcast, kind of, and I think in a very humanizing display of poor planning, because listeners hear us now and it's just like, God damn, these guys are professionals. But early on, it was not so. And as Zach and I kind of stumbled through the dark recesses of podcasting and found our way, got our chops, early on when we were recording, the first two singles, studio recorded singles from this album dropped, and Zach and I discussed it on our second episode. Probably kind of a weird move when we had only discussed Pablo Honey on our Radiohead podcast, but that was a long time ago. So why don't we reset? What the heck is The Smile? Is it what I thought it is? Is it a K-pop band? Is it referring to the great lost Beach Boys record that drove Brian Wilson insane?
Yeah.
What the heck is The Smile, and why are we discussing it on our Radiohead podcast, Zach?
Well, Walker, it's because The Smile is the side project of two of the five members of Radiohead. So remember, listeners, there are five members in the band Radiohead. Just to
list them off.
Reset. All right. Well, we got lead singer, guitar player, pianist, multi-instrumentalist, Thom Yorke.
Principal songwriter.
Thank you. On the lead guitar, we got Jonny Greenwood. right?
And he probably only plays guitar, right?
Exactly. I mean, great guitar player, but pretty limited in that regard.
Yeah. Not a lot of range as a musician.
No, and I hate to say it, but let's just be real here. Then holding down the rhythm section, we got brother of Jonny, Colin Greenwood. That's with one L. Mm-hmm. Older brother, I might say.
Older brother.
Yeah.
In a diminished role, very humble older brother.
And
the Fredo of Radiohead. Fredo to Jonny's Michael.
And then completing the rhythm section, we have Phil Selway, and that's radio. Wait, I said there's 5. Oh, Nigel Godrich is sort of the unofficial.
He's sort of the unofficial 5th member.
Yeah, Walker, help me out. Oh, we'll cut this. Who am I forgetting?
Wait a second. Hold on. I see. There's this guy.
Their manager, Bryce Edge and Chris Hufford. No.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of. But I was thinking of there's this really tall bloke who I kind of wonder if maybe he's like their stylist or something, because he's like kind of more traditionally
in the circle.
Good. He seems to be like they really like to have him around. He's like their Magic Alex. But I think that guy's name is I want to say Mason.
Ed O'Brien, little Ed O'Brien.
Okay, that's little TD Eddie.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, listeners. We'll probably cut all that, I'm sure. Ed O'Brien on rhythm guitar.
Allegedly.
Those are the 5 members of the band Radiohead. They have not released an album since May 16th of 2016. So right around in 2021, we'll get more into how we heard about them and so forth later. But you were just asking about, I think, who comprises the band The Smile, and that would be Thom Yorke. We just covered his credentials. Jonny Greenwood, we were being cheeky. He can play every instrument under the sun, Western or non. And Tom Skinner. Now, that is Tom with no H. You know, Tom Skinner, Walker, I've been dying to ask you this, but as we've discussed, we like to keep things for on the pod. But Tom Skinner, he has an eclectic resume as a musician. I mentioned several episodes back, I think it was in a Moonshaped Pool Part 1, that he and Jonny, I believe, this is what I've read, they initially kind of formed a relationship, met one another during the recording in 2011 of the film score that Jonny Greenwood wrote and composed for The Master.
I read the same
Paul
thing,
Thomas
yes.
Anderson. Yeah. And he just has an extensive resume as well, or eclectic resume, I guess you could say. It includes work with the jazz funk group Sons of Kemet. Help me out on the pronunciation if that's incorrect. But
did I read it wrong? I thought it was Zach. I've been reading it as Kermit this whole time.
Oh, well, there's no R.
Oh my God.
Have you listened to them at all?
No. You know what? Getting ready to do this episode, I was like, oh, I should check out Tom Skinner's band, Sons of Kermit, was what I said to myself. And then completely was just like, I could do that. I could come prepared with that knowledge and experience to our recording, but I'm not going to. And so, no, I'm going to
remain free in the knowledge of Sons of Kemet.
Thank you. But I just love this drummer, and I do think that in the future I would like to check out his other work, because he's a sensational on the Skins. I think they call him Tom Skinner because of how good he is on the Skins. Absolutely.
And just a couple other quick points on his resume. He is also collaborated in the electronic fusion group Floating Points, and he's also provided percussion for the UK rapper Kano. I'm not familiar with either of those other 2 bands. I have listened to Sons of Kemet, not extensively.
What was your initial impression? Is it kind of thing you'd get into?
Yes, Walker. I would say the comparison that I would make in terms of like an individual whose solo work I've explored that I would not have necessarily found my way to otherwise would be Josh Klinghoffer, formerly of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But so listeners, just real quick, Josh Klinghoffer played in the wonderful Nevada City band The Golden Shoulders from 2001 to 2003 on 2 of their albums. He also toured with Beck for his album Sea Change and Wero. And then from 2009 to 2019, I believe, he was the studio and touring lead guitarist for the band The Red Hot Chili Peppers. and now he is in the band Pearl Jam. So Josh Klinghoffer has an extensive resume. He's much younger than a lot of the gentlemen that he has participated in their bands, but he has a solo career and goes under a different moniker on those solo albums. Very weird, very experimental, pretty light on vocals, but really, really cool stuff that I don't think I would have found my way to otherwise. That's enough on Josh, but I would say that Tom Skinner's side projects remind me of that. Not that they're stylistically the same in any respect, but something that, do you kind of get what I'm driving at?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't have found my way to it otherwise. Really cool stuff.
Okay, and primarily instrumental, instrumental and experimental electronic music.
Yeah, because I get the sense that Sons of Kemet would be like the group that is like top on his resume besides these other. I mean, he's a studio guy, is what I would say, right? And you know, that may sound like a diminishment or knock or something like that. Listeners, I've not, jammed or met a ton of studio musicians, but as I get older and as I realize I can play a guitar, I can screw around on some other stuff, you really do start to understand what the next level of skill is. Mm-hmm. And it's not Kurt Hammett and Metallica. It's not Thom Yorke. Those are light years from where you are. And when I say you, I mean myself as well. Studio musicians play with the best of them. It's almost like a dream role to be, because you get to, I kind of feel like you get to rub elbows with all the people, but you don't have paparazzi bugging you in your shit all the time. I don't know. So anyways, Walker, listeners are familiar with Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood. I wanted to just highlight a couple things from Tom Skinner's resume, but let me kick it back over to you, please.
Yeah, the Smile rolled out in a pretty interesting way. I think it was a slow kind of dawning realization of the seriousness of this project for music fans and Radiohead fans. Obviously, Tom and Jonny have a very high profile in the world of rock and roll. And if you're in, it sounds like Tom Skinner is super successful as a working musician and has these projects that if you're into that kind of thing that you may have been aware of. But I think that, not necessarily those of us who were fans of Radiohead would have known who this guy was, as I think was well covered in our initial reactions. I was deeply suspicious of Tom Skinner from the beginning. I've come around on him, done a complete 180 from my initial "you're not my dad" sort of reaction to him. But the Smile formed during the COVID-19 pandemic, as I believe you referenced, and it was in early 2021. Almost 2 years ago in May 22nd, that the Smile made their first public appearance. And this was how the world learned of them. There was not press before that. There was not any sort of public announcement in any way whatsoever. It was just Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood and another guy named Tom are in a band called The Smile. And the way we know about this is they appeared at the live stream of the Glastonbury Music Festival. And I actually have this first set list here, and there's a couple interesting things about it. So we'll get into the track list of this album and everything, but I just want to hit you, Zach, as somebody who knows these songs, with what they played for their first set.
Please.
That was Skating on the Surface, later retitled to Skirting on the Surface on the album. The Smoke, You Will Never Work in Television Again. Opposites, later titled to The Opposite. Panavision, Just Eyes and Mouth, We Don't Know What Tomorrow Brings, and Thin Thing. Now, every song I just listed is on the album we're going to discuss today, except for Just Eyes and Mouth, which we will discuss in our live episode next week because they played that at the show we saw.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
But I pulled up some just of the early press coverage of this event, and so it'll just kind of give us an idea of what like the initial reaction was. Because like I said, other than appearing at this festival, there was no additional information given. It wasn't like, hey, this is Radiohead now, or hey, this is like a fun fuck around. You know what I mean? It was just like no real context was provided. And so The Pitchfork article that covered the first public appearance of The Smile had this to say. It said, and this is about the live set that they played.
Mm-hmm.
Performing in a corrugated shed with what appeared to be a parachute as a roof, The Smile ran through 8 new songs in just more than 30 minutes, with Yorke and Greenwood shuffling between guitars, bass, a Moog synthesizer, and a Fender Rhodes. Yorke introduced the band with a bit of a riddle. Quote, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are called The Smile. Not the smile as in, but more the smile as in the guy who lies to you every day." Perhaps unsurprisingly, with 2 of its 3 members coming from Radiohead, The Smile's sound echoes some of that band's vintage rock sensibilities, albeit stripped down into a 3-piece. The difference lies in nuance, a slight bounce to Skinner's drums on a few songs, an unfamiliar aggression from Greenwood in the bass line, and the warm analog tones from the guitars and the Rhodes piano. Now, I want to pause there because one thing that was mentioned was Yorke's somewhat esoteric and somewhat vague, but also interesting. And I think kind of like he gives like an evocative description of what this name, The Smile, is. But there is a specific place that it comes from. And I know you kind of looked into that.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. And I love that before I get into it real quick, I just want to give my 2 cents. I just love it because The Smile, band names are a really tough thing. I feel like band names are kind of like, the ones that are embedded in my consciousness that I don't have time to think about because they've always been there. The Beatles, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, I don't ever question them because they've always been there. Even when I first heard of them as a child or whatever, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So when even something that I love is new, I'm kind of like, do I like that? Do I think, so having, and I don't always love bands that have so much lore around them or lore around the name. But surprise, surprise, 2 out of the 3 members are in Radiohead. I really dig it. And I think Radiohead and their side projects have a knack for awesome names. So with that overly long setup, or my input, as you said, there's a story behind it. So The Smile took their moniker from the title of a poem by English poet Ted Hughes. And according to Thom, this is kind of gesturing to the quote you just made. We aren't called The Smile as in ha ha ha, but more the smile of the guy who lies to you every day. And I mean, there's not a ton more on it than that, but we talk about on Anima, right? I forget which track it is, but where Thom talked about no, it was more to the conception of the album about Boris Johnson. We send our avatar out, you're right, and we don't think because it's just this guy with this stupid haircut. Obviously, Donald Trump is when this band is sort of coming together, right? Certainly was in 2020. We'll get back into that. We'll get more into that later. Donald Trump is still president, right? He's, running for re-election. And just because Donald Trump is no longer the president anymore doesn't mean that Thom Yorke's cynicism regarding politicians and the fake smile that we are delivered as not peons, but, recipients from those politicians, that's still very much there,
And I would say there's
I would take a pause there. Go ahead.
No, not at all. I was just going to interject and with some of the political themes and themes of alienation that are well discussed in our Anima episode, but are persistent themes throughout all of Thom Yorke's songwriting. I think that this idea of the smile of the guy who lies to you every day, there's a media critique contained within there too.
Very much so. Very much so.
It's the politicians. It's the whole damn thing.
Yeah. And, it's funny you say media critique. I mean, media, politics, all that, they are sort of all under one umbrella. But I do feel, and we talked about this with the Moon-Shaped Pool too. I don't know that we disagreed by any means, but that like a song like Burn the Witch is sort of absolutely can it be applied to Donald Trump as he's coming into the zeitgeist. We had a really great discussion on that. Listeners, please go back and listen to our parts 1 and 2, really, where we discussed that extensively. I do feel like, and we'll get into this with the tracks more, that maybe The Smile is a little bit more geared in some of its lyrical tone. We can't get inside their heads towards media cynicism, maybe more so than even leadership. But again, that's not what we're talking about right now.
It would certainly track that he is continuing his preoccupation with that from this being this is the follow up to Anima.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so presumably some of these songs were written over the same period of time, or within a couple of years of each other at the most.
100%. We'll get into this, whenever you want to talk about just the data pertaining to the album, recorded dates, and so forth. But the recorded dates are listed as 2020. And as we discussed in our Anima episode, Thom Yorke was slated to tour that album in 2020. Again, they're all from the mind of Thom Yorke in terms of the lyrics, presumably. I just do sense a strong carryover, and I would like to credit you with that, as far as what I sense tonally in the lyrics, because as much as Thom has persisted with this style that I think you and I both love, I would say the strongest starting point of it being Kid A. What I mean by that, listeners, is the short stanzas that are packed full of the entire spectrum of emotion for me. But because the songs get more and more condensed, I would say starting in that album, I could be wrong. I'm sorry, I might be wrong. That those are the albums, and I love OK Computer, don't get me wrong, but those are the albums that I feel like I say, explore the broadest range of emotion with the shortest stanzas. And I just feel like even within that, though, of course, because those albums take place from the year 2000 all the way to 2016 in terms of Radiohead chronology, you do get a different focus, even though the songs sort of stay in that shorter mode or style. Do you kind of get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I also think it is indicative of a growing confidence in what they're doing.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and that for me is very much not a knock on the things that preceded it. It's just reaching a level of expertise in executing this stuff that it's like, I can say as much that used to take me a paragraph and a sentence.
Yeah. And
it's just tighter, tighter writing.
We talked a lot about it. Absolutely. We talked a lot about it on during In Rainbows. I think we kind of really, really saw eye to eye as far as there's maybe a little bit more of some brightness, right, in the lyrical content there. Contrast that to Kid A and Amnesiac, which I actually find to be distinctly different albums in their tone as well. They're all from the mind of Thom Yorke, and the song Nude goes all the way back to the OK Computer era. But outside of that, they just seem to be about different things, albeit abstract things. And, to bring it all back to the Smile, I just feel like a lot of the songs, not all of them, but some of them in terms of tone really, really seem like they were born out of probably the writing sessions. And I'm talking specifically about the lyrics from probably what Thom had been working on for Anima. Right. And we'll talk about that more, maybe not, because this is just me kind of spitballing.
No, I'd love to, really, because this one is kind of, for me, one where I'm not super familiar with the lyrical content. I think we both talked about how, as much as we love Thom's lyrics in general, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in general for both of us, lyrics are kind of the last thing that gets investigated. And I think for me with you don't feel that way?
No, that look wasn't it totally depends on the song, Walker. I mean,
sure,
as listeners will know, I Might Be Wrong is very, very high for me. Whenever a song had hit me when I had first heard it, if I didn't understand it, I would investigate. If it was a song not even that it backgrounded, but I just was so in love with the music, yeah, it was really something that wasn't like super high on the priority list. So it's kind of hit and miss for me, or had been. Now I can say with confidence I know the words to every single Radiohead song.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, and I think just for me, it's not that I'm not interested in the lyrics, but I have listened to this album consistently in the couple years that it's been out. And I think that it's like I'm still just kind of absorbing it as a whole. And so I haven't gotten to the point where that I have with a Kid A that it's like, okay, now this thing has been in steady rotation for me for like a decade plus, and I want to go back and turn over every last stone of this thing.
Yeah.
So
I gotcha.
So all that to say, I am interested in your analysis of the lyrics, because other than a couple songs and other than what I can interpret from hearing Tom sing it, which sometimes, Tom famously kind of a marble mouth delivery. And, I thought he was saying hurts like a broken arm and let down for the last 20 years of my life. So, with the exception of a couple songs, the lyrics are kind of really open for guided interpretation for me.
Well, can I give you I think this is funny. One of the reasons why I was so excited to read the lyrics to these songs both before the album came out, because as we're going to talk about, we'll just say it now, they released 6 singles or 6 songs prior to the release of the album. They didn't all have an accompanying music video or something. But when You Will Never Work in Television Again, when I first heard that song, I was like, I got to know what the lyrics to this song are, because I got to know if this is even Thom Yorke and crew.
Right.
When I heard that song. But we'll get into that more.
I think
more
we'll get into our initial reactions to that one, because it's a really interesting first taste of what this band is.
Yeah.
But so tell me about the name though, and the origins of the name. Interpretations aside, what is this poem that it's lifted from?
Yeah, so like I said before, it's from Ted Hughes. I believe the title of the poem is from a book called Crow, and the poem goes a little something like this. Listeners, I love songwriting. I love, all kinds of things like that. I am still not great with my rhythm in reading poems, so show me a little bit of grace here. So it goes, began under the groan of the oldest forest, it ran through the clouds, a third light, and it ran through the skin of the earth. It came circling the earth like the lifted of a wave submarine, running, tossing the willows, and swelling the elm tops, looking for its occasion. But people were prepared. They met it with visor smiles, mirrors of ricochet with smiles that stole a bone, and smiles that went off with a mouthful of blood, and smiles that left poison in a numb place or doubled up covering a gateway. But the smile was too vast. It outflanked all. It was too tiny. It slipped between the atoms so that the steel screeched open like a gutted rabbit. The skin was nothing. Then the pavement and the air and the light confined all the jumping blood. No better than a paper bag. People were running with bandages. But the world was a daughtry gap. The whole creation was just a broken gutter pipe. And there was the unlucky person's eye pinned down under its brow, widening for darkness behind it, which kept right on getting wider, darker, as if the soul were not working. And at the very moment the smile arrived, and the crowd, shoving to get a glimpse of a man's soul stripped to its last shame, met the smile that rose through his torn roots, touching his lips, altering his eyes, and for a moment mending everything before it swept out and away across the earth. That is really fucking cool, in my opinion.
Well, let me give you a couple initial reactions. I've never read this before.
Okay.
First of all, I'm confused. You said it was a poem. I didn't hear one rhyme. Secondly, it's talking about a smile, but a lot of this imagery does not sound very nice to me. So what's going on? Zach, I'm just a simple guy. Tell me what the heck's going on here.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of get like bloodthirst hunger from the masses a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is sort of the imagery that I kind of got. I don't know. I purposely didn't read any analysis on it because I just kind of wanted to get your kind of gut reaction. But that was mine when I had read it. I was like, first of all, some of the word pairings do appear, not in a great abundance, but in some of the lyrics on this album. And second of all, I think it just speaks to, I think, what you said so well on our Kid A and Amnesiac episode. I can't remember, but that there's an appetite for violence, in a lot of it, right? And it's not that Thom Yorke himself seemed to have an appetite for violence, but I'm thinking about songs such as National Anthem, such as You and Whose Army. I love the way Tom can kind of write from this alternating perspective of literal disgust, of what he's seeing and Western society and so forth, and remember, listeners, those are from the year 2000 and 2001. But I think you said like an appetite for violence. And I feel like laden within this poem, not only is there a lot of inspiration provided to Thom in a lot of what it might be discussing. I believe the poem was written from 1966. I know Ted Hughes, he was very prolific in that era. So definitely a lot of like post World War II imagery, certainly a lot of Vietnam, the war in Vietnam sort of like imagery. But then again, there's always things going on in media and political landscape that I think speak to these themes. Like as an American, we think about these hallmarks of, World War II, certainly as folks in Europe and all over the world would think of World War II as a world war. But then sort of the next sort of marker in my mind is like, okay, well, there was, Korea, then Vietnam, then a whole bunch of just corrupt things that just, caused tons of loss of life in the 70s and 80s. But, really the next big war would be, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. That is a pretty limited way to look at things, but I sort of think that I'm trying to tie it all together, just that like, I feel like this poem, you could narrow it down or keep it broad. And I think in one sense that speaks to how excellently it's written and how, sadly, like things are kind of always going on in this violent direction. What do you think, Walker?
I think that's I'm looking at it now, and I think that is a really apt interpretation of what's going on here. And I mean, I think that like for me, I was listening to it with the helpful kind of clue extended by what Thom has said about what the band name The Smile means to him. But I do feel like, in kind of the narrative arc of this poem, it does seem at the end that this concept of the smile, the crowd shoving to get a glimpse of a man's soul stripped to its last shame met this smile that rose through his torn roots, touching his lips, altering his eyes, and for a moment mending everything. And that sounds like this bloodthirsty feeling that you're describing being portrayed in this poem. It does sound like how we, the mob, elevate these people to enact our violent impulses from a very privileged height, right? These king figures that we put up there. And so yeah, kind of knowing that the smile is the smile of the guy who lies to you every day, and this describing us kind of delivering that unto an individual who has lost enough of their soul to fill that role from us. This is super cool. I'm not claiming to understand everything that's being gotten at here. I would have to read it and think about it and feel it, and still then, probably get a percentage of it. But I also am not well versed in my poetry, but I dig this.
Absolutely. And I think just the poet Ted Hughes had, he has an extensive background. I've only learned about him just in preparing for this episode. But listeners, in no way would I say that I'm anything resembling an expert in terms of World War II history. But I would say, an amateur student of it. I really, really, it's to say I find it interesting would be an understatement, And I did find it interesting that Ted Hughes, just quick bit on his background. He's a 20th century British poet. He was born in Yorkshire in 1930, and he did serve in the RAF. And, he attended Cambridge. So, you think about the year he was born and serving in the Royal Air Force. And there's just something that I have noticed, and many, many others have as well, about the way we idealize the folks that fought in that war. And there's sort of an assumption that, if you made it through alive, that, you had a lot of shit in the background, but you were okay because you were fighting the definitive villain. That is right. True. You were fighting the villain. The Nazis had to be stopped. They had to. But
I wish you would have told me you were going to take such a controversial position on this podcast.
No, I mean, I'm quoting Bryan Cranston, actually, in an interview I heard where they asked him why he was such a huge fan of World War II. And he said, the Nazis had to be stopped. They just had to. And I was like, there's never been a better sentence said in human history.
That is nice and succinct.
But what I mean to say, there's no but to that statement. What I mean to say, though, is I think that, they called it, shell shocked or something like that. I think that was actually from World War I. All I mean to say is that there was a lot of cynicism. There was a lot of mental scars that are impossible for me to imagine, having probably murdered multiple men with your bare hands. Maybe not in his case. He was part of the Air Force. So I don't mean to go down such a rabbit hole, but I just think that the art that came from this period and the political cynicism is unprecedented in its specificity and its cynicism. And I really, really, really love it.
Yes, and I agree that the outright villainy of Hitler's Germany and the Nazi Party does sometimes serve to diminish the not just like individual traumas, but the national traumas of atrocities carried out by militaries on all sides of such a brutal and long conflict. And
yes,
so, yeah, I think you can hear that too. And it's interesting, man. I mean, people, this is, I don't know anything about Ted Hughes' personal politics or anything, this being the first time I've ever read any of his work or heard of him. But there is, people get radicalized by experiences that are not what we kind of associate with them. George Orwell served in the Imperial Police in India, and I wouldn't say that you read his work and come away with a sense that he is an authoritarian or pro-imperialism.
Not at all. I mean, that he is a very interesting example in that way. Kurt Vonnegut would be the other biggest example for me. So
Great
Kurt Vonnegut,
example.
Of German heritage, but first generation American. I want to say it was the Midwest. Well, I think it was Indiana was where he was kind of born and raised, and was in the army and was stationed in Dresden during the Dresden fire bombings. And I don't know. I mean, I've read a ton of Kurt Vonnegut's work, and I've read a biography on him and so forth. But I think what's so amazing that Kurt Vonnegut does, and not a lot of people, to my knowledge, of course, there's tons of stuff I haven't read, satirized World War II, even though the Dresden firebombing and obviously the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki are critiqued and often written about in a poetic sense, or satirized in film, a Dr. Strangelove, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Atomic Bomb. But Vonnegut is unique in that he was, first of all, very early in calling attention to what some might call war crimes in terms of the Dresden firebombing that killed more civilians than any of the bombs that were dropped over England, over the United Kingdom, I should say, but primarily England. And so, yeah, I just think that I would just encourage listeners just to wind it all up. We've really strayed away here, but the World War II for me represents the last time in known human history, from the bit of research that I've done, where war was the solution. And that is a very rare thing, and that is a very, very strong position to take. And in taking that position, it doesn't mean that I am then blind to what it did to the men and women, and obviously the children and so forth. But I'm talking about the people that were soldiers, and I say men and women because many women in the Soviet army were snipers, which is the coolest thing I've ever heard. But just the tremendous, tremendous atrocity, even though they were fighting to defeat an enemy that would have destroyed the world. So that's all I have. I feel like I really strayed us away, Walker, but
no, not at all. I mean, I think it's a really interesting topic because, first of all, World War II is endlessly fascinating. And I think the Vonnegut example is so good because I do think that it's like this is a young man who signed up to go fight Nazis, who is like, you know, completely unequivocal in his hatred for that ideology, but writes about the Dresden firebombing as an atrocity. And I think
many times too.
yes, exactly. And
talk about intertextuality. He has his characters crossing over all over the place.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Kilgore Trout.
Go ahead.
Is the great connective tissue of that universe. And yeah, not only that, but writes about these horrors with like a amazing sense of humor, which is another
Cat's
thing
Cradle.
that makes him such a fun read. Yeah. But I think that it's always a discussion worth bringing up, because I think that people kind of in bad faith use World War II as an example because it gets distilled down to a very simple and black and white thing, where I think that the median position on America's military might and how it has been wielded is people are less enthused about that in a general sense than they had been during and previously to World War II. And and there always has been an anti-war movement in this country, and that's something that also gets kind of like put in the dustbin of history, and including to World War II. And
conscientious objectors.
Yes, and and just also at home there has been a anti-war activist movement during all these conflicts too, and like fairly robust ones for World War I especially, I believe. And those things have usually been by administrations of both political parties, have usually been quashed as much as possible. I don't even know exactly what point I'm making, except that I think that World War II too often, because of the
righteous cause.
Yes, because of the genocide that was being carried out by the Nazis, it too often gets bandied about as a not morally complex conflict. And so I'm always interested in anything that does that, especially by the people who participated in it from the right side. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get into the album, which we will soon, let me just cover a couple of these other live appearances that continued to bring awareness of the Smile to the public and kind of cement them as, you know, I don't know how you felt, but I remember the more that they kind of kept showing up, the more I was kind of like, oh, okay, this wasn't a one-off for this music festival of like, here's our like little pandemic project. It's like, this is a new band. The next live appearance of Smile music that I came across in reading about it, and just one quick thing I want to say is, you know, Zach and I always go beyond the Wikipedia for our research on these albums or these projects. In the case of the Smile, the band declined to give any interviews about it. And that's something that I imagine could probably change in the future, but I have a suspicion as to why that is. And I think that it's probably because every interview would be about, is this the end of Radiohead? Is there going to be a new Radiohead album? What's going on with Radiohead? And instead, they've just kind of chose to let again, this is all my speculative interpretation of that decision, but I think they've kind of chose to just let their actions speak louder than words here and just deliver music from the Smile to us. This is what they're doing now. We won't get into what that means for Radiohead because that's something we've talked about a lot at this point. But all that to say, this band, very contemporary, you know, the first appearance of them was in 2021, and the Smile is still a developing story. And that is the first developing story that we've covered on this podcast. So, you know, a little less information.
Along with World War II.
Exactly. Yeah. Time's going to tell on who's going to win that one. I don't know why I'm just quoting a thing I said in life that I thought was funny, but I was doing a show last night and one of the comics is about to go perform in England for the first time. And I cracked myself up by going, yeah, well, you let them know that we beat their ass in World War II. That's like my new favorite thing to get wrong is that that America beat England in World War II.
I like it. That's good.
I feel like people know what they're talking about just as much when they say about France. Yeah, well, we saved their asses in World War II. It's like a thing people love to say that I don't know if they really have contemplated. So the next appearance of a Smile song I thought was interesting. In October of 2021, Thom debuts Free in the Knowledge. Now he plays it solo. This is an acoustic driven song that is on the album, so we'll listen to it and discuss it. But this was not a streamed event. This was a live event at the Royal Albert Hall. I it's so hard to like remember specific points in the last few years of pandemic haze, but I feel like summer of 2021 was and late summer and early fall of 2021 was kind of the first like, hey, everything's back. Oh, just kidding. Kind of like one of those. So, he's playing out live. I feel like things kind of, certainly in America, kind of do shut down again, more or less. But in any case, when introducing this song, Free in the Knowledge, he commented on a statement that had recently been made by Conservative Party member and current UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And I apologize if I have that pronunciation wrong. But Mr. Sunak had made a statement about how English musicians should retrain for other jobs that, not surprisingly, seemed to rub a lot of musicians the wrong way. The quote is from the Prime Minister. The quote is, "It's a very sad time. I can't pretend that everyone can do exactly the same job that they were doing at the beginning of this crisis. And that's why we've put a lot of our extra resource into trying to create new opportunities for people." So far, very political answer to a question about, what's on the other side of this crisis. And then it goes on, the article I pulled this from goes on. Asked whether he was really telling people from the arts and music world to simply go and get a new job in a different sector, he said, "That is a fresh and new opportunity for people. That's exactly what we should be doing." So that statement had been made a few days earlier before this live performance to, I think, a lot of resounding fuck yous from from English musicians. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to interject that I think why that would be so infuriating to, you or I, who are, I don't want to speak for you. I'm not an aspiring musician in that I don't have a band that I'm trying to bring to the forefront. I am a musician. Yeah. I love to play. Yeah. I love to sing. I love to play with other people. I think it's insulting to everyone because it's insulting to somebody like a Thom Yorke or a Jonny Greenwood who, yes, I mean, they could author books. They could just get paid to have photos taken of them for the rest of their lives. But their skills, primarily, I mean, Tom's a painter, are as musicians. And so, yes, that's and they're both in their 50s. 50 is the new 32 for men. But I just want, I just am saying that that's their whole life. Secondly, to the 15, 18, 22-year-old that is, my band's gonna make it. Like, why in the like you're not like don't that is a dream that transcends time, pandemics, technology. Music is eternal. Art is eternal.
Yeah,
that's all. I mean, am I saying the most obvious thing ever? I don't know.
No, I think that's great commentary. And I think that there's an interesting facet to this that feels particularly British to me. And a big CYA before I comment on any of this is I do not claim a strong knowledge of British politics. As an American with a very, very, with a vague awareness of what is going on in England, it does definitely seem in the last several years, things have, in terms of who controls the government and a cultural conservatism, things seem to be moving steadily to the right in England, much in a similar way as they have in America. And the part about this that I find very British is I feel like in America, we're very used to living in a society that does not promote or support the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And again, having never been there, it does seem to me that an area in which England specifically and Europe broadly is, I would say, ahead of American society is the arts are still considered a viable option for a life and career. And until more recently, there have been more mechanisms in place, such as, just by having a stronger social safety net, you're encouraging people to go into a variety of different fields, right?
They seem to be prioritized by public funding without draining the soul and having it be propagandistic art is the way I would put it as well.
Right. I mean, and I appreciate you pointing that out, because I mean it in both ways in terms of what is not encouraged in America is not just a life of artistic pursuits, but also I think that we're much lower in terms of developed societies in public art, public space in general.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
is something that is sorely lacking in American society for what a rich country we are, in my opinion. The part about this that seems really British to me is a politician saying that here, honestly, of either the Democratic or Republican Party, I feel like would be met with kind of a resounding or like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Or just or just kind of met with not much of a reaction at all. There it seemed to spark a big, like that was a controversial statement from a conservative politician in England and was met with a backlash. And I the same way there's a lot of jokes about, when France is like, hey, we might extend like the work week by 5 hours, they burn the fucking city down. Like, I feel like this had a similar kind of like culturally British response where people were up in arms about this. So Thom goes to play this song at Royal Albert Hall and introduces it with the following quote. He says, "I'm a British musician, and I was told during the pandemic, along with all British musicians, that we should consider retraining. And then when we finally left, they told us we didn't really need to tour anymore anyway, did we? Around Europe. So perhaps I'm one of a dying breed. Who knows? I want to perform a song that I wrote with my new band, The Smile, during that period to tell all my fellow UK musicians. It's called Free in the Knowledge." So basically kind of a rambling way of saying, hey, fuck you, and here's a new song. And keep writing, UK musicians.
I mean, I love it. I too, I just want to say, listeners, in case it isn't abundantly apparent, I did know that, no, I am aware, I should say, that Rishi Sunak is the prime minister, I think recently, of the United Kingdom. Very recently of the United Kingdom.
He had just taken over for his predecessor, Boris Johnson, earlier in, I believe, in October of 2021. So this was very early in his administration that he made these comments and that Thom is commenting on it.
He's on I know this for a fact as well. He's only been the prime minister since October of 2022. But he's very important political figure prior to him taking office. But still, a quote from a prominent politician who was about to take the highest office in a region of the Western world.
Got you. Okay, so he was like had he already been? Was he like prime minister elect at this time? Is that?
Well, yeah. I mean,
so he was a member. Let's see. He held 2 cabinet members under Boris Johnson. Lastly, as chancellor of oh God. Wow, this is embarrassing. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, often abbreviated as Chancellor. Wow, that is
let's abbreviate it today.
Yeah, the chancellor. He was the chancellor.
I love all that background. I mean, I think let's see, we're at an hour. I'm sure we have 7 minutes we could cut. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, there's just one last live appearance that I think is important to talk about, because the context that we're setting up here is just that all of this is happening before an album has been released, which is just that, you know, The Smile rolled out as a live project during the pandemic. The next big thing that they do is in January of 2022, they perform a live stream over 2 days at a venue called Magazine in London. And I don't have a ton to say about this except that they performed in the round. It was shot really cool. And they played all the songs mentioned on that first set list, but they debuted several other songs that I listed here. Mm-hmm. So this performance includes the songs mentioned earlier, as well as the live debuts of Speech Bubbles, Open the Floodgates, mm-hmm. Free in the Knowledge, the full band version, not Tom solo, A Hairdryer, Waving the White Flag, and The Same. They also, once again, played Just Eyes and Mouth, so that is a staple in the live set that is not on this album, but we will cover when we talk about our live show. But that's all the background I had about The Smile leading up to the album.
Excellent. That's all I have as well. I mean, I'm so excited to dive into the tracks because, as you stated, Walker, they have not given a lot of interviews. What's known is known. I mean, whether it's from Wikipedia, whether I found a lot of the reviews of this album to be very, very enlightening, both from kind of calling attention to what they're doing musically, calling attention to the conception and formation of the band. But listeners, just like with Anima, Walker and I sort of, unplanned and just sort of in the moment had the realization that it's like, yeah, this wasn't that long ago, was it? You know? And I mean, it's sort of the same thing here, but I think I just love this continuation of what Radiohead do of, this is not Radiohead, I'm sorry, but the members of Radiohead and the style in which they release music of it's coming and it's coming soon. And that's kind of how The Smile was, right? I mean, it's like, it's not easy if you're Thom Yorke or Jonny Greenwood to keep a lid on maybe what you're doing. But I think it brings that extra layer of excitement. And in a day and age when, I can't speak for everyone, when it is hard to get excited about stuff, the great music is being made every day by musicians famous or unknown. Great songs are being written, but because of the because of the availability of everything, sometimes it feels a little bit hard for me to get as excited as I did when American Idiot came out and it dominated my consciousness for 2 years, or the Black Parade, or I'm not saying that those albums are on par with Radiohead albums, or heck, even the King of Limbs, right? Like, however much that album hit with me, I think now it resonates more than it ever has. It's really, really hard. And I think that,
a new music release being an event feels like a bygone experience.
Yes. And I mentioned American Idiot and the Black Parade, and obviously this has to do with just the life I lived and the way that I perceive things, but I think I've gotten a little bit better about seeing things from like different angles. American Idiot in particular, Green Day was like the biggest band in the world for like a year and a half, right? Yeah. And Radiohead, I would say, have surpassed that in terms of their maybe longevity to a wider audience, and certainly I love Green Day, but at the level of respect that they're at. Mm-hmm. But all that to say, I just think that Radiohead, they can't beat the system entirely. We've talked about that with Ticketmaster. We've talked, whatever, but and they can't escape, Tom trying to do an album release with Tomorrow's Modern Boxes through BitTorrent because he wasn't a fan of Spotify, and then come 2017, it's on there. However, the fact that they are able to keep a lid, and this isn't Radiohead, but the members of are able to keep a lid on things to where it creates this buzz. Again, seeing it from my own angle because I'm such a huge fan of these guys and their work, is just, I just want to praise it. I just want to call attention to it. It's so fucking awesome.
That's a really good point, because it does make me kind of appreciate how, and this is a way I feel about the album too. I do feel like The Smile is kind of taking a old school approach in a new school world. And by that, I mean, okay, their first appearance is streaming. That's due to I'm sure they would have loved to play for a live audience. It's obviously due to the COVID restrictions that were in place at that time and the safety concerns of that time. But this is a new band emerging in the way bands emerge, which is almost no bands when they start out with an album and then go out and play to promote that album. They start playing shows around and build their set and rehearse the fuck out of those songs and then go into the studio and record them. And hopefully they've garnered enough interest by that time to have people listen to the album or to be on a label that's going to promote the album, right? Obviously it is different, and I'm not pretending that it's not. When Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood start a band, there's already a built-in huge audience and a built-in ton of press coverage. But I do think it's cool, and I think that this kind of return to rock and roll sensibilities is also reflected at different points in the album. You know,
absolutely.
Like, I mean, this is a 3-piece band and they started out playing live and they didn't say anything else about it. And I think that the idea that you're speaking of, that it's like so hard to make an impact in the environment, in the media environment that exists now. And by that, I mean, multimedia environment, music, film, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood have a huge leg up with any project they start. But I kind of like this approach of like, hey, since that isn't really likely anymore, that it's like any band is going to be the band everyone's talking about, we'll just say nothing and just show up and play the songs and then kind of put out the album in the same way. Which I think, if we have said what we want to say about the lead up to the Smiles debut album, where in this run of live appearances did the Smile even announce that they had an album coming out?
January of 2022, they released the first taste of the album, You Will Never Work in Television Again, as covered on this podcast. The trio issued 6 more singles to fans. But I believe it was at the end of 2021 that there would be an album that was forthcoming. And then, as covered on this podcast, in January of 2022, they released the first taste of the album, You Will Never Work in Television Again, followed by The Smoke. I believe those were the 2 tracks that we listened to on our second episode of this podcast. And the album did arrive in May of 2022. It was May 13th of that year. And just a couple quick things. Like Walker had said, all this information is available on Wikipedia, what have you. But I just wanted to go through a couple quick data points. Last little bit before we get into the tracks. The album name is A Light for Attracting Attention. Love it. Love it. Good job, Tom. Good job, Jonny. Good job, Tom Skinner.
I love it too, even though it's kind of contradicting a statement I've made in the past that I prefer. I tend to prefer Radiohead's more minimal album titles, but A Light for Attracting Attention, just a very nice image for the album name.
Absolutely. I've kind of gone back and forth on that because I was a little bit 50-50 on the King of Limbs, but as listeners will recall, during the latter part of that episode, as Walker and I sort of shared our thoughts on it, it's just really grown in my esteem. Same with Hail to the Thief. I've always loved that album that album title, actually. But I tend to prefer the OK Computers, the Kid A's, the Amnesiac, the 1-word or 2-word titles, right? Yeah. I don't favor either one now, but I love this album name. The recorded dates were 2020 through 2021. 2021. I did listen to an interview with Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood on the podcast Smart List, hosted by Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes from Will and Grace. In which Tom had stated that, I believe that interview came out in March or April of 2022, that the delay was due to completion of the artwork, which was created by Thom Yorke and Stanley Donwood.
Very atypical. I feel like very atypical artwork from kind of the Stanley Donwood style.
Yes and no.
It's a very colorful album cover.
It is very colorful. I kind of marry it to Hail to the Thief a bit, in my mind. You know what it reminds me of, Walker? This has nothing to do with anything, but an album that I love, and I would presume you're a fan of too, the 2007 album from the Shins. It was sort of...
I can't remember the name, but yeah, I was into the Shins. I mean, and the Shins are great. I can't say I've listened to them for quite a few years, but
I love that album cover, and it has sort of, it's black and white, and it has what look like sort of like amoebas, or germs under a microscope or something like that, so to speak. And even though I think the smile is a lot more abstract than that, I really I really do. Yeah, Shoots Too Narrow was the album before.
That's it.
And then
yes.
The album that I am speaking to is called Wincing the Night Away.
With Phantom Limb on it.
Yes.
I don't really know that one as well, but I was a Shoots Too Narrow fan, but I didn't super keep up with them.
Oh, Wincing the Night Away would be kind of my favorite, and that's sort of where I dropped off at as well. So anyways, listeners, check out that album, check out the artwork. In no way is this derivative at all. It's just that it's unclear to me what the cover of A Light for Attracting Attention is meant to convey, as is the case with a lot of Radiohead or Radiohead adjacent album covers. But yeah, anyway, I just love the artwork of it. It's very abstract. It's very Thom Yorke, kind of Stanley Donwood. But as Walker just said, I do think it's a bit of a departure as well.
It's just less austere, I would say, than Stanley Donwood tends to be. Even in his like busier work, there's usually kind of there's a gothic nature and a darkness to it, and this doesn't vibe with me in that same way. I love it too. I think it's great.
It's not terribly silly.
Exactly.
So this album is sort of defined, categorized as progressive rock, electronica, and Afro beats. I just love that because as we discussed with Atoms for Peace, an album that I can only say for myself, but I believe that Walker and I have come around to in terms of how inviting and cool it is. Who knows which one of us favors it more than the others, but I would just like to say for myself personally, I really, really enjoy that album. And as we discussed, that album was born out of an all-night listening session, multi-night listening session of Feel a Cuddy. So yeah, I just mean to say that I think a lot of the influence that influenced various different projects are present on this album as well, even though this album is wholly unique in my opinion. The length of this album is 53 minutes, 18 seconds. The label, XL Recordings. Producer. You want to take a guess, Walker?
Butch Vig?
Nigel Godrich? Close,
okay. My second guess was going to be Flood.
Well, great producer as well.
13 tracks on this one too. 53 minutes, 13 tracks. This is a long one.
This is a long one, and I that was all I had. Man, I'm just so excited to get going here.
Okay, so should we get into it?
Let's do it.
The big question with a Thom Yorke project is always like, what is the opening statement going to be, right? With Radiohead, damn, do these motherfuckers know how to open an album has been the refrain of 8 of 9 albums for me. And I don't think that we even achieved uniformity on that these motherfuckers didn't know how to open an album on King of Limbs. I've also gotten some pushback from friend and listener of the show, Jesse Rimler, on my criticisms of Bloom.
Coming over to my side.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Did he mention that? Did he just say, "Hey, I don't agree with you, but leave off my positive comments"?
yeah. But he was like, "I don't agree with you, but I want to make it clear, I'm also not aligning myself with Zach." And it's always great to hear from the fans. But so that's the question on this: is do the Smile know how to open? Do these motherfuckers know how to open an album? So with that, let's kick this thing off. Okay, so already I'm hearing the Afrobeats aspect, a little bit of world music going on. Zach is very much dancing with his eyes and a lot of head bobs.
Ooh, listen to that bass. Now, who do we got in the bass on this one?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Colin, I'll tell you that. Oh yeah, I guess we did mention in the I guess we mentioned through me reading that Pitchfork review, or not review, but the press from Pitchfork on their first appearance at Glastonbury. But I think it should be highlighted. Thom plays bass as much, or I would say as much or slightly more than he plays the guitar or piano in this band. And the first footage that I saw of The Smile was Thom holding a bass on the song The Smoke, which is not an image that I was not surprised that he plays the bass, but it was not an image or an instrument that I associate with him.
And Thom, I gotta say, I just love this part.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh my God.
Pretty different from Radiohead so far.
A bit.
Now I just want to listen to it.
Yeah, I know.
Don't you know you're
gonna shock the monkey? But I think Jonny, though, explores the bass a bit more with a bit more of an adventurous spirit. So I venture to guess that he's playing the bass on what I think is a fucking phenomenal opener. I just gotta say, a monkey.
Oh yeah. Jonny's more of a slap bass player. What is Peter Gabriel? I guess I'm now revealing that this is not The Smile. This is Peter Gabriel, Shock the Monkey. What is, because Peter Gabriel, I'm sure a bunch of different people have played bass on his records, but touring, he had that bald
very
dude.
Famous bassist.
Yeah, who plays with he puts those extenders on his fingers.
Yeah.
I wonder what that guy's name is. He is a very and I believe he was in the band the time I saw Peter Gabriel live when he was touring for his
that would be
early 2000s record. Tony Levin, yeah. The Peter Gabriel concert film Secret World is a great concert film, and the guy wears
that's
like
from his Us concert.
That's from his
tour,
Us
right?
tour, but I want to say that Tony Levin was still in Peter Gabriel's band when I saw him in the mid 2000s.
Okay, can we pause for this? Thom falsetto.
Yes.
Oh, he's
now Zach. I gotta ask you. Okay, so normally when we have done a false flag song when we've started an album, I have picked the song, not told you what it is, you usually picked something very bad, or at least something very dated. Now, I think we both are huge Peter Gabriel fans. I think this is an awesome song. You wanted me to pick this. Why is it that you wanted me to pick Shock the Monkey as our false opener?
Because I have a funny Peter Gabriel story. And when my favorite part comes up,
I bet Phil Collins has a few of those too.
Shock.
Oh yeah, when that guitar, that windmill guitar chord coming in is awesome.
So with Peter Gabriel, listeners, I've been happily married, almost 6 years now. In my current relationship and relationship I had many, many years ago before, I have a feeling that both of those people think Peter Gabriel is really dorky and just kind of let it happen. And I just love this fucking song so much. And that's all. I just wanted to share a story about how loving both, my current wife, listeners have met, just the greatest woman on earth, in my opinion. And then the person, before that I had a relationship with, I could just, that's the only thing they have in common, is I could tell they just kind of let it happen.
That's so funny because, I do wonder. I would be curious, listeners who, if this song is new to you or if you have like hard opinions about Peter Gabriel, I would be curious. Wait. Oh, that part's awesome. Yeah, because you were talking about like band names, like the Beatles being a prime example. If a band came out now called the Beatles and I had no context for the Beatles, I'd be like, that's stupid. Right? Now, it's completely like impossible to remove my association of what the Beatles are from that name. So I think it's awesome. You're just talking about these things that you take as a given because they're from a early or very formative time in your life.
Exactly.
I know Peter Gabriel is a super interesting, talented, and accomplished musician. Like, that's not up for debate, but it's never occurred to me. Oh, there we go. Had it on repeat. It's never occurred to me that he is not cool because he was so big with our parents, and he's one of the cooler things I feel like I was handed.
Yeah.
I love I would say the majority of the music that our parents grew up on that they still listen to is really stuff I am a huge fan of. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't describe a lot of their taste, and this is not a knock, I just would not describe their taste as particularly adventurous. But Peter Gabriel is pretty weird, and I think a little bit of an outlier in like just kind of how proggy and funky and electronic and eclectic his influences are, right? There's like a lot of non-Western influences in his music. But yeah, I mean, does that sound just like dorky, dated 80s music to somebody who didn't grow up listening to him?
I don't know. I mean, I have not asked Kailani. I know that, Walker and I both said that, we I don't know that we like to laugh at ourselves. We could take a joke when it comes to like, oh, I have it on vinyl or whatever. I really do think it makes a difference. But I've just over the years collected primarily, not every single album, but most of Peter Gabriel's catalog on vinyl. So when I'm blasting it throughout the house, I just a couple of different times have seen Kailani go, "Babe, I'm so glad you have this." And my wife has phenomenal taste in music, very adventurous herself. I would say more adventurous than my own at times. But yeah, I don't know if it's a thing you have to grow up on. I mean, he is, the album the album Us, I believe, came out in 1991. And then the album that came out that you saw him on the tour on, Up, is 2002. But yeah, I think really he's sort of a distillation of that late 70s, 80s kind of world music. And I do think that he just represents a hallmark of the 80s. But I will not let this die. And it's not just because I thought of it, but I just think Peter Gabriel, not in like all of the sounds and textures and all of that. Peter Gabriel maybe a little bit more whatever. But I just think represents such a distinct influence overall on Thom Yorke specifically. Not in all the sounds, but anyways, that's all. But hey, this isn't a Radiohead album. We usually play something terrible. This is The Smile. They have nothing to do with Radiohead. So
yes, and it's also worth pointing out that we are now mirroring the arc of Batman by doing an episode about a new band, because this is our Batman Begins. So no longer... so, the timelines have diverged. We used to be mirroring the arc of Radiohead by kind of coming into our own as we would discuss the albums where they really locked in. And then we mirrored the arc of Radiohead by doing an episode about Batman and Robin. But now we mirror the arc of Batman by discussing the debut album from The Smile, A Light for Attracting Attention. This is the opening track of that album. A simple 2-word title. This song is called The Same. Now, I want to say, I think these opening notes, it's a very cool, kind of minimal, and almost modest way to open this album. And I don't know that this song completely hooked me from my first few listens.
Really?
Not that I had anything negative to say about it. It's just this one was there are a lot of songs on here that got their hooks into me right away, and then there were some that were growers, and this one was the grower category, but I think it's awesome. I think it's an awesome song. I think it's a cool way to open the album. It just took me a little bit to get this one. What are your thoughts about The Same?
Oh, man. I mean, this might be my first HDATS, which is my hot take about The Smile. Well, I guess before I get into how I feel about it, just a quick, bit of information. This is the only song on the album that doesn't feature any other players besides Thom and Jonny. So the
Right,
song,
right,
so
right,
there,
right.
you know, if you look in the sleeve or in the notes of this album, obviously Tom Skinner, but I'm talking about just additional string and a lot of the help me out, strings meaning or orchestral stuff is conducted and led by Jonny Greenwood, but there are other individuals,
and also Richard Stillman.
Mm-hmm.
Plays on a few different tracks. I'm not actually sure which one specifically, but he is a saxophonist who does kind of ambient looping.
We saw.
And he was their opener on their North American tour, and it was a really cool way to open the show. Instrumentalist, really awesome.
So the song begins with a spare synthesizer kind of throb pulse that to me is vaguely reminiscent of the opener of Kid A. By the way, listeners, that is a borrowed quote from Pitchfork's review, which I found to be one of the best reviews I've ever read of an album, period. I loved how much they dived into it. But so, like I say, I agree with that quote. Reminiscent of the opener of Kid A's Everything in Its Right Place, Walker's favorite album opener from Radiohead, one of my personal favorites. And this is what I loved so much. It said the song serves as the album's heartbeat, which I love so much. And as the song goes on, this is now me talking, more and more sounds slowly surround that pulse, right? I mean, listen right here. Oh, it's so awesome.
I mean, the piano. And the piano is blended into the Moog synthesizer in a way that I didn't actually really pick it out as piano until we saw them play this song live. And when they play it live, Tom is playing a bass line on the bass guitar.
Well, you can hear the...
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. When they play it live, Tom's on the bass guitar, and Thom Skinner is running the synthesizer loops, and Jonny Greenwood is on the piano. But it's mixed in a way where it all kind of blends into one sound on the record in a really cool way, including that bass drum. Also just kind of blends into the synth line.
I'm sorry, anyway, so I mean, it's just, I love the heartbeat analogy because, listeners, this individual filmmaker has come up, many episodes, but in Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in the film Alien, which Walker and I watched, half of it, but Walker and I watched that film together many times. Just this last Saturday, Walker was watching it when I came over. And one thing I noticed that I had not noticed before is that a heartbeat is present in the latter part of the film when Ripley has her helmet on and she's, defeating the alien. And then in 2001: A Space Odyssey, the film by Stanley Kubrick, there's an abundance of writing about this, anywhere, but a heartbeat present in when a film can do that, and it doesn't call attention to it so much. It does something where it breathes life into a character, into a mood that gives it such a human quality. And in films like Alien and 2001: A Space Odyssey, that is just brilliant. And I think that, this song does that. It is like the heartbeat of the album for me. I think it's a very natural opener, which I've heard folks say they don't feel that. I think the only other place it could work in sequence would be as like a pivot midpoint. But I just love it. It's anxiety inducing. It's chromatic. It's creepy. I mean, I think that some of the lines, please, I'm sorry, listeners, but please, the way he enunciates that as like a sense of desperation. This song is the perfect opener for me in the same way. I was trying to think, like, do I compare this to Radiohead albums? Do I approach this as if I've never heard of Radiohead? I think I'm going to go a mix of both. But this song is the perfect opener for me in the same way as Airbag, as Everything in Its Right Place. Now, listeners will remember 2 + 2 = 5 is my favorite Radiohead opener of any album. I wouldn't compare it to that because I think, while that's my favorite album opener, it doesn't set a tone in the best way for the rest of the album, as we talked about. I love that album. I love some of the songs on it, but then we kind of pivot in a way that feels a little bit unnatural following that song. I don't want to linger on it forever, but I would compare it in as far as its perfection relative to the songs after it, as I would Airbag and Everything in Its Right Place. And those songs represent the most cohesive album openers for me for what the rest of the album is, and the same succeeds for me in exactly the same way. So forget if Thom and Jonny are from Radiohead. If this was a band that had just a perfect album opener, I would invoke those songs as well. I love that song. I could still remember the first time I heard it. I mean, Walker could see I'm like, I have the most joyful smile on my face. I have a lot of notes on the first few songs. I'm not going to go this long on everyone, but I love that song so much.
I think it is a great opener, and I think it is a really, like, the song is more of a swell than a build.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, this kind of like, I'll just use the language that you quoted. This heartbeat has kind of expanded out to all these different sounds, and you're deeper and deeper in the sauce, I would say. And it makes it a really nice way to build into the next track on the album, which we'll play in a second here. But I just wanted to say too, I also think that this song kind of is the most direct reference to the album title. It doesn't say the words "a light for attracting attention" in it, but the first lyric is, "We don't need to fight, look towards the light." And I think this song kind of belongs in the pantheon of protest music, because I do find the lyrics pretty direct. People in the streets, we are all the same. I think this song is kind of a cry for solidarity among what we would call the 99%, and that's an expression that has gotten used so much that it kind of gets lost. That, like, what that means is that 99% of us are more or less part of the same class. And there's lots of different things that we can all fight each other about. But I think that Thom is aligning himself with kind of everybody but the ruling class here and saying, I'm putting out a beacon for us to go towards and figure out how to accomplish our shared goals. And then we can like fight out all this other nitty gritty stuff if we still have to. And I just like such a direct refrain in this opening. And I think that it's paired really well with more strange music. It hits in a way that it wouldn't if this was an acoustic guitar song. That could make these lyrics and these ideas seem a little bit trite potentially, but they are really, really nicely paired with the juxtaposition of what a kind of weird tune it is.
I love all that. I have two comments on what you just said. Like, so listeners and Walker, I said it reminds me of, because of the cohesion it achieves, because I have heard the album already, is Everything in Its Right Place and Airbag, right? Even though I prefer the song 2 + 2 = 5, right? I don't need to repeat my point. Those openers are phenomenal songs. And even though the songs after Airbag and Everything in Its Right Place are different stylistically, as a sum of a whole, it works so much. So same thing with that one. It also reminds me of Packed Like Sardines, in that it does not, it does not sound like the song after it, right? But for whatever reason, when you look at the album as an artistic statement on the whole, it just works, right? So much. And the other thing I would like to say, how you said, it's sort of direct and it sounds similar in language to the album title, and feels very kind of current in what it could be commentating on. I love your read on it, but mine is a bit different. I think that it could be inspired by like the George Floyd riots, and not necessarily so much directly as like the 1% or 99%. But just, we are all the same, for instance, right? And somebody's fallen down, people in the streets, and how it says, the refrain of the same, you could read it as, we're all the same, we're all equal, we're all human beings. Of course. Yeah. I wish we all felt that way, Yeah, we are all the same. That's so, but also the same. It's the same shit that keeps happening. I mean, George Floyd, for me, I can only say for me, shone a light on something that is, not that I was unaware of police brutality and racial injustice, but I mean, that one was so in your face and so brutal and awful, but it just keeps happening. And it just like, I don't know. It was that's what it reminded me of. And we don't need to fight. Look towards the light. it just and what are people that protested that? Oh, well, you know, they're just capitalizing on it. They're sure some people did smash windows and loot it or whatever. That's not what it was about, though. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's enough of that.
No, not at all. No, I think you're right. I don't think it is a coincidence that this album was conceived and recorded during a time where the only thing in like a year, the only thing that got everybody out of their house was at the same time across the world.
Yeah.
Not just in America where this thing happened and where police brutality is a particularly pressing issue, but worldwide, people went out into the streets to protest. Tons of those people, I think even possibly a majority, definitely a plurality of those people were at a protest of any kind for the first time in their lives. It's not like this was like some like fringe
myself
movement.
Included.
Right. It's exactly. And it's like you said, it's not like you were unaware of this problem before, but it was just very unignorable, I think, for a lot of people. This wasn't some fringe movement made up of policed abolitionists or like far left extremists or something like that. This was this touched normal people in a very painful way. And I think you're absolutely right that he's commenting on that. And I think that that is another reason why I would put this in the category of protest movement. I think he's talking about,
I love it.
There are all these things that are up for debate across the economic and political and cultural perspective that people will fight each other on. But there are a few things that the broad swath of us agree on, whether we know it or not. And the nature of policing isn't even necessarily one of those things, right? That what policing should be and whether or not it should exist is a fiercely and hotly debated topic in American society right now. But should they be killing people with impunity is much less of a hotly debated topic. Almost everybody agrees that there's a problem with that. And so I do think that he can both be speaking to the specificity of that and kind of broad economic and class issues that Thom Yorke has always spoke to. And I think like a Burn the Witch and I think that like on Burn the Witch, part of why his songs are so great is they stand up to the scrutiny of time and not having to be topical, but also usually call to mind pretty specific things that are taking place in the zeitgeist at the time that they're released. You know, it's the personal is political. And I think that that's always on display in Thom's songwriting.
Yeah. I love it.
So if we're all the same,
first song.
Well, if we're all the same in that first song, Thom, ever the grumpy grump has gotta take the piss out of it right away and say, you know what? That first song was called The Same. This one is called The Opposite. And I gotta say, this is the first of a kind of non-Radiohead move, I think, on this album of having the opening two tracks be called The Same and The Opposite. It's playing with kind of the naming conventions in a way that I feel like, as much as this project sounds like a project from Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood, I feel like it lives in the differences where it can. But what do you think about, you know, them putting those two things back to back? Do you agree that that's kind of like something
absolutely.
that is like maybe a little too cheeky for Radiohead? And I like that they're playing with kind of these different stylistic choices in terms of the track listing on this album.
Yeah, I mean, Walker, I mean, this is like what I have in my notes, not word for word, but very similar. It's like I don't mind the direct approach, you know, whether just the direct approach is, hey, the first song was called The Same, this one's called The Opposite. Okay, that's nice. But I wrote, you know, this song is very aptly named as it is the opposite of the song before it. So there you go. And is damn near opposite of previous radio albums. At least The King of Limbs in a Moon-Shaped Pool. That might be a stretch. But, you know, because we talked about how Identikit very much felt like to you and to Noel and myself as a lot of like, oh, here comes, or this is reminiscent of what Jonny Greenwood is doing in The Smile. And even the song Morning Mr. Magpie, you pointed out, and we agreed that like what Jonny's doing on the guitar sounds a little bit like what he's doing in The Smile. But other than that, this song is the fucking opposite of what we have heard from Thom and Jonny before. Right. And this is where we really get to welcome in Thom Skinner. You know, I don't have a ton more commentary except to say I love the new use of Jonny's tools. Listeners, that's what Jonny Greenwood calls his guitars, his tools. I mean, and just I love how he uses this is sort of, not to get into the weeds too much, but this part fucking rocks. I love how he uses his effects pedals to oscillate such that the beat or the one of a given measure gets lost. So it hovers and moves around without ever becoming nonsense. So what I'm talking about is it's very clear right now where the beat is, but I don't know if it's going to do it again in the song, but the wanna no no no
it does it again.
No. Okay, so we'll let it. Oh, listen to that bass. So what I want to say about that, about the riff, if you will, and combined with he's using a lot of effects in that, is it oscillates so that like it becomes harder and harder to define, not for Thom Skinner, but for somebody trying to count it out. And there's a few songs in this album that do that. And what's so cool about that is I think that Jonny has always played to Thom's strength as a singer. Thom obviously is a musician, but where Thom will come in on former guest Jesse Rimler said, I think Thom is comfortable in an odd meter. And the way Thom and Jonny complement each other is, to me, here's one of my HTATSs, I don't think has ever been clearer than on this record. And I'm not saying that it's the best thing they've ever done, but Jonny does this thing because of a new technique that he may have already had in his arsenal, where he'll oscillate his riff and the way he's playing so much that the one gets lost, and it allows Thom to pick his spots, which are often unpredictable in the best way. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? It's so fucking cool. And I love that song because where I not complained, but there's a couple tracks on A Moon-Shaped Pool, an album that I love, where I said, I know Radiohead and Nigel's thing is to not give you the build and the pop that you might have gotten in a There, or that you might want in a Zeppelin record. I feel like this album achieves in such a way in that, does that song ever go to a, There, Paranoid Android, whatever level? No. But the way it builds and swells, it just gives me the rock in this case, in the Smile way, but it's so satisfying, and I fucking love that song so much. I don't know, your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and I think that you really also, it's a great second track because it's kind of like introducing the three-piece.
Yeah.
I know there's overdubs in that song, but it doesn't sound like it. And
Barely.
the only difference in how it sounds live is that it's louder and thrashier. But you really, really get to hear, like you said, what Thom Skinner is doing, like how complex his drumming is, and the way Thom's kind of counter melodic bass line is playing off of this very strange oscillating guitar part. And I just think it's like kind of like the first one kind of introduces the themes, and the second song kind of introduces the band. And I think it's just a great way to start the record. The only other thing I would say is, you referenced it sounding like something on A Moon-Shaped Pool. Listeners, go back and listen to the guitar solo in Identikit on A Moon-Shaped Pool, and then listen to this, because Jonny, it's in a different key, but Jonny does in that solo do the, and then it's like, oh, cool. He took this little phrase that he used in a guitar solo and built a whole song around it. And I think it's really cool that he has been playing with these sounds on the Les Paul.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he plays Les Paul in Identikit or not, but
he does.
Okay, so fair enough. This very specific, it makes sense that he calls them tools, because even guitar to guitar, he plays them in a different way, and he is playing in a very different way on the Smile than he has in the majority of Radiohead. It's this very percussive and kind of bigger sound than he tends to do in latter day Radiohead.
Absolutely. And listeners, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to that, because we had Noel Brown, who podcasting personality, but outside of that too, just had an expansive and huge knowledge of engineering in the studio. And I loved what he said too. And this is something that, I had known, but in no way was able to verbalize it to the technical level that Noel was, how the way Jonny plays a Gibson is like the opposite of what you traditionally think of, which, listeners, Jimmy Page, Gibson Les Paul is a very widely used guitar. It's kind of the top of the line as far as electric guitars go. But I think, I can only speak for myself, I think of somebody like a Jimmy Page who slams it with a lot of gain, and has the way Jonny plays it, I feel like is so Jonny Greenwood, in that it's not that it doesn't sound like a Gibson, but he plays it kind of not for its intended use in a way.
Yeah,
is what I would say,
not.
which is so Jonny. And the way you said that, like, it's a bigger sound. Yes, it is a bigger sound than latter day Radiohead, but it's still a cleaner sound than the telly that he would use for up through, I mean, honestly, even through in Rainbows on Body Snatchers, he's still using the Telecaster. So I don't want to just talk forever on this song, because there are other songs that employ a lot of the techniques here. But just the last little thing I want to say, and it was from something that you said, Walker, was what did you say? The first song kind of tells you what the vibe of the album
kind of introduces the theme. Second song introduces the band.
Yeah, my contention is the first song I could see as, if Radiohead is ever to make another album again, if this were a Radiohead album, I could see the same being an opening track to a Radiohead album. The opposite, outside of Tom's voice and me knowing who it is, does not sound like a Radiohead song to me.
That's interesting that you say that. I want to comment on something you said a little earlier, and then comment on that, because I feel differently about that. I wouldn't say I feel the opposite, but I don't feel the same. But no, I did just want to comment on this guitar sound that you're talking about. You're right. It's like, I said it's a bigger sound, and you're like, yeah, it's bigger, but it's also something else. I think it's almost like it's a wider sound, if that makes sense. WIDER, because it's like in this band, Jonny is doing kind of the combined guitar work of what him, Tom, and Ed do in Radiohead.
Well said.
He's the rhythm lead and soundscape guitarist in this band, and it's a different approach. So I don't mean to just keep tying it to what they do in Radiohead, but it's also like they are not released of their own self expectations of wanting to do something that's interesting and full, right? So even though it is a 3-piece, it's stripped down, but still kind of trying to fill those shoes of like, how do we accomplish something as interesting as what we did with our 3-guitarist band or with our 5-piece band?
Yes,
does that make
sense? And to that point, it's like, it totally does. That's so well said, because I hear, we give Ed a lot of shit as a joke on this, but that riff, it's very, very busy, and there's a lot going on in it, effects wise and technique wise. It would not sound, you wouldn't spread that riff over 3 people, but were it to be a Radiohead song, I could almost individually hear at least Tom and Ed, right? Because the weird effects of wow, wow, no, 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 that feels like something Ed would do with a lot less busyness. But the effect feels very Ed, and then the busyness of the riff feels Tom. So just like you just said, I don't mean to just try and repackage what you said. It is incredible how, while Jonny, I don't think, is consciously thinking about it, they are such proficient musicians and have done so much. They do know, how do I repackage something where I would have 3? And in the case of Jonny Greenwood, we throw around the word genius. That guy is a genius. This man is a genius. He's doing what you just said. So I don't have much to add. I just love what you said so much there. And I can almost hear,
Thank you. I only wanted to comment on that. You were saying that last song doesn't sound like a Radiohead song. So my interpretation of it is slightly different. It's not really that I disagree, but for me, the songs the same and the opposite. The same sounds to me like it could, I guess, aptly titled. It completely sounds like it could be a Radiohead album opener, right? Which is not a criticism of the song, but it's like you said, it's more of a Thom song that is opening the album, right? Even though I'm sure all three band members contribute things to the song. Radiohead has done that, right? Where they take a more Thom on the piano or synth or electronic, and that kind of opens the album. The opposite to me sounds like if that was the new Radiohead song, I would not be like, this doesn't sound like Radiohead. I would be like, oh, they're moving. This is an interesting direction for Radiohead. So to me, both those songs sound like they could be the new Radiohead to me, even though I would think that it was different than stuff they had done before. The first song on the album, and frankly, one of the few songs on the album that to me would not be a Radiohead song, is the next song, You Will Never Work in Television Again. I'll start playing it with that. But this one, to me, this was the first single. We talked about it on the album.
I could not believe it when I first heard this song. Sorry.
Yes. When I heard this song, and I believe we both felt pretty positively about it at the time that we kind of reviewed it early. But when I heard this, it was like, oh, so this band is going to, other than Thom Yorke's voice, but even how he's singing in this song, this band is going to be nothing like Radiohead. Now, that's not really, in my opinion, how The Smile turned out to be. They turned out to be more similar than Radiohead than this song would indicate. But this song, to me, represents what is so exciting about this band is Thom and Jonny are not free from the expectations of being Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood of Radiohead, but The Smile is free from the expectation of being Radiohead. I think Radiohead is no longer in a position where they feel like they can do a more or less straight ahead rock and roll song. This song sounds more like The Strokes than Radiohead, and clearly they still find some joy. Zach is holding up a note. What does it say?
To me, it sounds like a song from The Strokes circa Room on Fire.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah. Well, I'll shut up and pass it over to you because I know you have thought. But to me,
no, keep going.
No, that's it. It's just really, it's just really exciting to find out that this tempo and volume still holds some excitement for these guys.
Yes,
and
dude.
I am glad that they're getting to indulge in this flavor because I do think Radiohead are kind of sometimes victims of their own, their own evolution, right? They've evolved so far away from this that it would maybe be subject to a level of criticism that this new project is not, for them to do something that is more stripped down and simple, direct, loud rock and roll music. And with that, I want to kick it over to you and hear what you think about it.
I'm in total agreement, and I love that. I think I struggled to verbalize. I want to treat examination of this album the way that I think The Smile wanted to be treated, not by our podcast, but by their audience, right? Which is, this is its own artistic statement. And we'll talk about that when we cover what Thom said when we saw them live and just as the album goes on. But yeah, I mean, as brothers that have a lot of overlapping musical taste, and I'm sure someone else has written this in an article or something, but to me, the guitar tone, I've never heard that guitar tone present in a Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood collaboration, not even including Pablo Honey and the Bends. Like the tone and the style of playing is very The Strokes. Albert Hammond Jr. and Nick Valencia are two of my favorite guitarists of all time. It sounds like Albert Hammond. I'm sure it's a lot harder than it sounds, but it does sound like a lot of sort of like octave playing in an odd meter. And even the singing is very like 1970s Britpunk, maybe Sex Pistols or The Clash or something like that. I don't know.
And the guitar tone you're talking about is kind of like I feel like it's like an 80s kind of post-punk sound where it's like it's
Big time.
it's lightly distorted, but it's more that it's a cleaner tone played really loud and driving.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, I think you just so wonderfully covered. I just want to say for the record, I think that you verbalized so well how you said Radiohead or maybe I think you said like victims of their own progression or something like that, to that nature. Is that why they wouldn't make a song like this? That is what I struggled to verbalize during A Moonshaped Pool. Towards the end of our first episode when I said like I don't, it's not that it's bad or I don't love it. That is sometimes I feel like what's missing for me. And so going back to The Smile, I think that this is just so exciting. And I just want to cover a little bit on the lyrics of this song since Walker so greatly covered off a lot of like how different it is and so forth. So, Thom Yorke I'm going back to the Pitchfork review, listeners. This is a 50-50, my own thoughts and some of what it points out. But, it says that Thom Yorke puts on his best sneer while standing up to a gangster troll. That's a lyric from the album, who's lording his power over an aspiring young woman. Given its explicit reference to former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bunga Bunga sex parties, right? That's a line from it. This chivalrous salvo for the Me Too era could very well be aimed at that disgraced politician. I'm not going to keep reading the Pitchfork article, but it also made me think of Harvey Weinstein, of like sad fuck piggy limbs. So I just love it. It's very, there's a lot of venom in that song, I guess is what I would say. And there's venom in the musicality. This is our second, if you're listening to the album in sequence, hadn't heard the single, The Same is just an amazing song. We've seen them live. Nerds like us, or just maybe not, know that like Tom Skinner is doing something within that song. But The Opposite and You'll Never Work in Television Again are like, hey, we got a new drummer. No, I'm sorry, not we got a new drummer. We're collaborating with a drummer who, as this album goes on, it didn't make me cringe or anything like that. I don't know that I was in full agreement with Noel Brown, former guest Noel Brown, when he said Phil Selway's got vibe, but he can't do the stuff Tom Skinner can at the time. I think that is so well said. I mean, this guy, having seen them live, having watched footage, Tiny Desk concert, other live footage, this guy is one of the most amazing drummers I've ever heard or watched in my life. He is so, so good. And that song sounded like a driving punk, but I get really excited. Sometimes I go on for a long time. I fucking love that song and I love what they're doing in it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like, it's a driving punk song where I don't have the language to describe what Tom Skinner is doing in terms of drumming or rhythm, but it's a driving punk song where he's still playing really out of what you would expect the drumming to be for that song. And yeah, I think similarly to your kind of interpretation of The Same as referencing the George Floyd uprisings and, the huge protest movement that was worldwide during that time in 2021. Or was that 2020? Actually, that was 2020.
2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. In any case, I think it's interesting that this is also, referencing a pretty like contemporary conversation about men of power and their exploitation of women. Once again, it's done in a way that doesn't immediately date the song to like this, that being expressed through the hashtag or kind of shorthand of Me Too, because that's a conversation that existed before people referred to it as hashtag Me Too and will exist, after people refer to it as hashtag Me Too. But it does feel like in these first few songs, The Smile is kind of planting its flag as like expressing themselves about current issues and planting their flag on, what I consider to be the right side of those issues. So there is kind of a directness both in the music and lyrics that, again, I feel like are able to breathe kind of outside of the Radiohead shadow. Because you were saying that you had that issue on A Moonshaped Pool at a couple different points. And I don't have that issue with The Moonshaped Pool, but I completely relate to that feeling, because that's like an issue that I kind of have on King of Limbs, is just that like, man, the pressure to constantly innovate, not often, but just sometimes can kind of get in the way of just like, oh man, we should just let these guys play, because they're so good and their instincts are so good that it's going to come out weird anyway. It's going to come out interesting anyway. And yeah, and I think you really hear that in them doing, like you said, it's a a Brit punk song, but if Thom Yorke and Jonny Greenwood wrote it. So it's not anyone you've ever heard.
We could definitely go to the next song if you're ready, but I love that we both invoked the Strokes. Again, I'm sure a lot of other folks have too. I do want to just point out Julian Casablancas saw this band live when they first started touring after the album was released, and he tweeted, or maybe it was an interview I read, but I know he said this, that The Smile was the greatest live performance he had ever seen in his entire life.
That's high praise.
That's so fucking cool. I mean, I love the Strokes. I don't think the Strokes are necessarily on par with the Radiohead, but I do love the Strokes. And I just love that Julian Casablancas, a singer with totally different but phenomenal range, would just go on record and say that. I don't know. It's fucking amazing. I thought it was so cool.
We're listening
How do we feel about this song, Walker?
I love this song.
Okay.
This is Panavision. As far as I know, I think this is the first Thom Yorke song named after a brand, which I do think is funny. I think Panavision is one of those things that is like the word Kleenex, where it is a brand that then just becomes synonymous with a technique or a piece of equipment. Yeah, exactly. Band-Aid. There is a word for that is escaping me. A word for
Cotton
when a brand
swab.
name.
Oh, that? Oh, okay.
A word for when a brand name becomes the name of a thing. But in any case, I think this song is awesome. I don't have a ton of original observations about it, but I do have one that I thought was really astute from friend of the show, Jesse Rimler, which was that he thinks that this is a leftover piece of Jonny Greenwood's score that then Tom wrote lyrics for. And I think having seen them play it live, and that Jonny is on the piano on this one, I thought it was a good observation at the time, but I felt it was confirmed by that, because Tom, great piano player, but that melody on the piano does not sound like a Tom melody, and it absolutely would sound at home in a P.T. Anderson movie.
You don't think the piano line sounds like a Tom piano line?
The chorus.
I think this does sound like Tom. Well, I think it doesn't matter, because I agree with the overall take, especially for how orchestral it is. So why get hung up? Because I agree with you. And the thing that I love about this song is there's a couple tracks that I found my way into on a Moonshaped Pool. Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief. And then not Daydreaming, but the other song that is only about 2.5 minutes long that you said might not be that might be the one skippable for you. What's the name of that track again, Walker?
Glass Eye.
To me, not only is it what you and Jesse kind of were talking about, and that it could have been leftover orchestral music that Tom has now put words to, it is a much more successful execution of a few of those tracks on a Moonshaped Pool. I love the variants, basically, in the build, how it starts off with da-da-da, but then when we come to what would be thought of as a chorus, how we got Tom kind of wailing, I don't wanna love. I miss that, and I just don't feel like we've gotten that in a while. And I know The Smile is not Radiohead, but I just feel an exuberance and a life in these songs that I'm just going to come out and say it. I think Ed was sucking up. No, I love Ed. I love Ed, and I love what he brings to the band. I think it more has to do with what Walker and I don't mean to hug the mic here. Is it okay if I just keep going, though?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Walker and I saw a show on Saturday by a Pennsylvania-based band.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, sorry. Punk, prog rock. I don't know how I would define them, but they're amazing. Called The Screaming Females, a 3-piece. And what we were talking about is not that we're tired of Radiohead or anything. That's never going to happen. But they are original and unique, but they're driving and like have this intensity. And I think that there are 3-piece bands that you could get any kind of sound out of, but I think it's twofold with the Smile. I think that they realize, conscious or not, that you have to create something bigger with only a 3-piece, perhaps because there's only 3 of you. So they're kind of compensating for that. And I also wonder if Thom and Jonny, after Anima for Thom and after Jonny, I know Jonny, music is music and it's all ephemeral, but I think given where they started and that he is a electric guitar player first and foremost, you might not define it that way. There's something in your body and in your soul that clings for that song isn't the best example of it, but for something like a You'll Never Work in Television Again, or The Opposite, or Thin Thing, or these more kind of like guitar driven songs coming up. That's my theory. And Walker said to me after that show, he's just like, I needed that. And I said the same thing to him after that show of seeing the Screaming Females, because not for nothing, they fucking rock. And like, I just needed that. Like, anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts.
But I do know what you mean though, with like a more stripped down band. It's like, it's just you need to kind of like push different buttons, I think, right? Because if you have a 3-piece band, it doesn't make your music less interesting, but it does inherently mean that without the aiding of overdubs, there's going to be less layers to dig through. And so if it's going to be boiled down to, say, guitar, bass, and drums, each of those things needs to be really, really hitting on its own merit. And each of those things it's not buried in with a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
It's like each thing is leading the song.
Yeah.
And yeah, the only other thing I want to say about Panavision is, if the last one was like a Brit punk song, I feel like Panavision, as weird as it is melodically, doon, 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 that's very strange and not at all what I would call poppy. But I feel like this is kind of a very like British invasion-y song in terms of its influences. It does sound like it could be like a latter Beatles song to me, or even like it's kind of Kinksy,
even
or something
Beach
like
Boys?
that.
I know they were an American band, but later weirder Beach Boys before.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, you're right. It sounds like psychedelic pop to me. There's that weird piano part during the verses reminds me kind of like Because or something like that from Abbey Road.
Well, and the way
and then the big horns,
so Beatlesy.
Yeah. It sounds like that song to me sounds like it has the kind of combination of an artistic, abstract sensibility, but the pop sensibility of Paul McCartney or John Lennon that they did at that. But and I know that like comparing things to the Beatles is kind of like, you know, like saying your favorite movie is Citizen Kane, but you know, whatever. Like, it just really does sound. It really does sound kind of like their best combo of those artistic sensibilities that they had to me. And again, I'll kind of say the same thing I did with You Will Never Work in Television Again. That one to me doesn't sound like, oh, this could never be a Radiohead song, but them indulging in a more throwback kind of sound like that, to me feels like something that they might be getting to do because it's not Radiohead. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that is one that they would have turned into a Radiohead song if it was kicking around, but I feel like they would feel pressure to obfuscate its more poppy elements or more like rock and roll elements than they do.
And still very much
Smile.
a weird song, but I love what you said about like the Beatles comparison, because with the aid of a George Martin, the way those horns come in is something very like Sgt. Pepper kind of era to me, you know. But I don't have anything else to add. I really like that song. I think it is a much more successful execution of songs that I really like on A Moon-Shaped Pool, and I'm specifically talking of the 3 that I mentioned.
All right, so this next song is the second single that was released. Zach and I talked about it around when it came out early on in the podcast. So far, based on seeing them live and footage of them playing these songs, Thom is on the bass on every song except for You Will Never Work in Television Again, in which he plays guitar and Jonny plays bass. This is one that is driven by a Thom bass groove that I really love. This is called The Smoke. Love that reverb on the drums. And then the lack of effect on the bass. It sounds like the gain is high. It sounds, you can just, I don't know, I feel like you can feel the microphone right up against the bass amp. It's getting a little bit of that fuzz.
I love it too. Kind of a silly comparison, not silly, but a comparison I made when we had listened to it back in February of 2022 was it just has a very Rat-a-tat kind of groove to it in its repetition. Rat-a-tat, two-piece instrumental kind of rock techno band, no singing, and which this song does have. But yeah, music influences itself whether the creators know it or not. And I thought that was kind of fun. I don't have a ton to add on this song. I love where it stays in this groove because of where it starts. I love when a song, if it started below this and this is all it ever built to, then it might not be as exciting as it is for me. And of course, we got some Jonny Greenwood orchestral editions coming up here in a moment. But yeah, I really don't have a ton to add beyond the bass playing being super exciting. And this to me would feel a little bit at home in a maybe Hail to the Thief era of Radiohead.
I would say In Rainbows.
In Rainbows. That's better. Yeah, In Rainbows. But again, there's something very unique about it. I don't want to just talk for the sake of talking. I love this song, Walker. That's about all I have.
This song rules. This is the one that made me go from appreciative skepticism. Like, when I heard You Will Never Work in Television Again, I was like, hey, I'm super interested. This is really different. But I wasn't like sure what I was going to be getting. And then when I heard this, it was like, oh, I have a feeling I'm going to love this as much as I love Radiohead.
I would agree with that because I was perplexed a little bit by You Will Never Work in Television Again. I genuinely felt like it was almost like I was like, this is what I thought Atoms for Peace would sound like, because of how driving and raucous it is. I could have been more wrong. And yeah, this is just so satisfying. And I really want to learn how to play this bass line. I don't know. I know how to play one song on the guitar off of this album.
Which one?
Free in the Knowledge.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I just adore this song. It's you could put this on if you're having a chill sesh.
Oh yeah, big time. A little bit in the sexy time Thom category, I would say.
Throw your keys in the bowl and turn on the smoke.
Yeah. Hey baby, what do you say we stay home and listen to The Smoke tonight?
I plan on lasting all 3.5 minutes. Of
this No, we'll put it on repeat. We can listen to it twice.
If I know what women like, it's a song on repeat.
That's right. Yeah. Everyone loves to hear the same song over and over while someone does sex on them. And also, hey,
Borat.
And I would say also that song is called The Smoke. If you are one to partake of the smoke, not a bad song for that either.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to bury the lead on this one, but the smoke to me, again, pulling from some various articles I read that are a bit more technical than what maybe would initially occur to me. I love this quote so much. It said, "The smoke is a beguiling waft of understated funk that sounds like a collaboration between Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti," listeners, you're very familiar with him at this point, "and Marvin Gaye, thanks to Yorke's wobbling bass line and falsetto moans hitting at sensuality and self-immolation. It's the sexiest thing he's ever set to tape." I just loved that quote so much because Fela Kuti, as we discussed in our Atoms for Peace episode, I really enjoyed what I've listened to, and I love being a pioneer of Afrobeat, how much he has influenced stuff that is maybe a little bit more palatable, like, Flea's music with the Red Hot Chili Peppers or with the Mars Volta. well, you could argue palatable or not on that, but yeah, I loved that appraisal.
Perhaps
of the song
accessible.
so much. Accessible, yes, thank you. And it's just so cool to listen to and to hear music that I wouldn't normally seek out necessarily, like a Feel It Cuddy, but I would seek out Radiohead music and I would seek out side projects. And that's the value in not being like, I like American rock and roll by, blah, blah, blah. No, things are an amalgamation. And that's what the best musicians, Flea included, Jonny, Thom, whomever, they're not afraid to do that. And look at what the product is. It's so beautiful. That's all.
Yeah, it is. It's great to get exposed to these influences through musicians who have a much vaster knowledge of music than my own. And in addition to Atoms for Peace continuing to grow on me after we recorded the episode, I also have gotten into Feel It Cuddy as well, and really, really dig what I've listened to. There's a ton of music from him, but I picked a few albums from what seemed to be kind of the heyday of him putting stuff out, and have thrown it on. And it's great car music, especially if you've got other people there, because I always find instrumental music is like less intimidating of a choice if you're maybe sharing a car with somebody who you don't know what their taste is. Like, oh, we'll throw this on and we can talk over it. But yeah, I love The Smoke. Now this next song is possibly tied in the number 1 spot for my favorites on the album. Maybe it's number 2, but I just adore this next one. It is called Speech Bubbles. I wonder if this is a real organ. Sounds like it could be to me.
Yeah. Peter Gabriel vibes just on the intro. Which is kind of that muted kind of bongo a little bit.
I was going to say, I love how he mutes his toms. So cool.
Which is hard to do in a band with, 2 toms plus the toms you got on the drum set. I mean, gosh, why not mute the Johnnies at that point?
I don't know if we've mentioned in the last song and in this song also, Thom's falsetto is just in amazing shape on this album.
I know that
not that it ever hasn't been, but I mean his voice this man is in his 50s. Whatever he does to keep his voice in shape, because it absolutely holds up live as well.
Oh my God, Walker. Oh my God. Not only does it hold up live, we briefly mentioned it, or I briefly mentioned it. We talked about it. How's that? In our follow-up to OK Computer, listeners go back and listen to that. I think it's called Here We Go Again Computer. The album was brand new in its release. I think we recorded that episode first week of June or something, right? So The Smile was 2 weeks old, the whole album. Yeah, and I mean, you just very simply said his voice is in great shape. And yeah, Thom Yorke, I don't know that he's ever really adjusted his singing as he's gotten older, because Thom Yorke's vocal quality is so unique. And I'm sorry to keep talking over a song I know you love so much, but like it's so unique. But Paul McCartney, for instance, is somebody who we wouldn't say is trained, but is one of the most recognizable and brilliant singers and musicians on the planet. But because of the way he used his voice in the 60s and 70s, it really degraded a little bit, right? He never sounded terrible. Thom has this wonderful way of using his vibrato and his head resonance in a way that I do feel like is, conscious or not, is more wise to the preservation of its longevity, which I think is really, 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 really cool, because he does have this just, that's a young man's prodigy voice. Sure. But the way he uses it, that's why folks like Walker and I can sing along and not sound terrible. Not because we're so good, but because Thom Yorke, even though he starts in a really high register, there's something about it where you can, I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of all I mean to say, I guess.
Yeah.
I love this song too, Walker. It's so great.
It's so good. I mean, when that ride cymbal just kicked in so tastefully, it's such a nice touch. again, kind of calling back to the conversation on the A Moon-Shaped Pool Part 2 episode with Noel. They play with such restraint that just this one little thing can kick in and it feels so big. Now, in this song, as far as its arrangement, I do just want to point out that Jonny is playing the piano and the harp, which
Could he do that live, Walker?
Yeah, he plays the piano with his left hand and the harp with his right, like a show-off son of a bitch. And I just also think it's really cool, too. I believe that this song would be through composed because there is the opening section that's about a minute and a half on the organ. It never returns to that. And then it just does about 2 minutes that we just heard is the bulk of the song. It stays in that section for the majority of it. But then this whole coda outro, it doesn't go back to the main melody that we hear there. So this is like a 3-sectioned song, but it all flows together so beautifully that you don't even really notice it. It all flows together so nicely.
It lockstep on this one, Walker. I have that in my notes. It's so cool because I didn't really take the time to examine the structure of the songs. So it must have hit us in that way, right? Because, and I think with some of Radiohead's through composed songs, 2 + 2 = 5 is on its own island of awesome to me. But a song like I Will, a song like Hunting Bears, they do feel so cohesive and they're so at home and they evoke such feelings for me. And I would put that song, Speech Bubbles, in the same category, to where through composition is very... I don't even know if Thom and Jonny or whomever set out to write those songs in that fashion, because that song to me also, in addition to being through composed, I love that you called attention to it, feels very filmic. Like it would go beautifully over, not an A24 horror, but a film with a certain kind of vibe. Yeah. And I just think where that song succeeds, this is the last little bit I have. And I hope it's not annoying listeners to keep comparing back and forth to A Moon-Shaped Pool, but it succeeds in its mood and its execution, but it just stands out more to me than whatever its equivalent would be. And maybe there is no equivalent because this is its own unique artistic statement, but huge fan of that song. I love what everybody's doing, especially Tom Skinner as well. It's not just Jonny being brilliant. Tom's vocals, like you said, huge fan of that song. I love it.
Yeah, it's a favorite of mine. Shifting gears. This next one is called Thin Thing. Good creepy title. That's a very King of Limsey title.
So, Speech Bubbles is a high watermark for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My other favorite has not come yet, but I got to say also, we're halfway through this album, and I really, really like / love every song we've listened to so far. So it's only favorites. Now, why don't you talk about what the hell Jonny Greenwood is doing on the guitar here?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, do I have to talk? I know it's a surprise that I don't want to after this song.
Well, when it goes into the crazy, let's definitely let it breathe when it goes into the crazy part.
So, very similar to what he's doing on the opposite. He's first of all, he's doing a tap, right? So he's not playing Jonny.
This is all finger tapped.
Yeah, on both sides of the guitar too.
Yeah.
So so he's tapping with his thumb essentially. It's not a technique that I'm know how to do myself. And then the way he's barely touching the strings on the neck of the guitar, and it's doing that thing where the one is oscillating, and that is so. Okay, here we go. Oh, is it going to build? No, because we're going to creep in. So, here we go. So now he's got a pick in his hand.
And I just want to say, this to me is another thing that would not be on a Radiohead album.
This feels Body Snatchers in terms of its production quality, but I agree. This song has no home on a Radiohead album. I completely agree. We have a key change. So essentially, just to summarize what he's doing, listeners, is there is a beat because you can hear Thom Skinner doing some amazing percussive work. Amazing doesn't even cap it off. There is no one based on what Jonny Greenwood is doing in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is so cool. I mean, it's a face melter. They're doing a face melter on this one.
Oh, this is my favorite part, how it cuts and goes right back. Thank you, Nigel. And this is the point of the album where I'm like fully bought into what Noel said. Thom Skinner, it might sound like he's just playing around on the hi-hat, sure, for this section, but I mean, this is... I love the way it modulates on the guitar there, too.
But where he places his fills is always so unexpected. That's like the thing that I notice about Thom Skinner. I would never be able to air drum along with any of these fills because they always come on an offbeat that I wouldn't be expecting.
Absolutely, and listeners, this is where I would highly recommend watching the Tiny Desk concert on NPR. And if you type in the Smile Seattle radio station, I can't remember, it's like KWB something. It's very intimate, and having seen the Smile live and then watching both of those videos, for me, this song and an upcoming song are my two Thom Skinner highlights. Where I love this so much. But yeah, to what you said, Walker, it's just where he places his fills is so unique.
This is more identikit guitar sounds here.
Yeah, absolutely. And this can't be off mic because the song's playing, but to what I'm trying to say about the one oscillating and never really being at home and catching up or being behind because it's placed behind and then it catches up like an Immigrant Song. Does that make sense the way I explained it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then here everything's Johnny's slowing down. It's so weird.
Yeah, this is not a Radiohead song, and it's not because it's a Smile. But this, you know what I'm saying. This is not a...
No, but Speech Bubbles is a Thom song that I can picture a Radiohead arrangement of. But this one is built for a three-piece. And this kind of three-piece.
Yeah, the most talented three-piece that could fill a room with all kinds of sounds. I mean, that song is a highlight for me. I'm not going to say what my favorite is yet. I will just say that's placed very, very highly for me.
Have we heard your favorite yet? You don't want to say?
We've not. No, we'll say we've not.
Me either, except for, that I would put Speech Bubbles up there with it. But I think I have a different, just by a hair, I have a different number one. This is Open the Floodgates. This is another one that I would put in the grower, not a shower category, where I don't know that this song jumped out to me for a while, but I love it now.
Oh man, I adore this song, and again, I was unclear how I wanted to approach this. Of like, well, it's Idiot Talk, a Radiohead podcast, but this is the Smile. It just makes sense, right? Because of our familiarity with those guys and their breadth of work and their body of work. To me, Walker, this feels very at home in a rare overlap between Anima and The Eraser.
Ooh, I like that.
In terms of its composition and just, it's maybe a little bit more, I don't hear as much digital manipulation per se, even though I do hear a lot of beeps and boops from Nigel and Tom and Jonny and whomever. I don't mean to just assign it, but yeah, that's kind of where it lies for me. I adore this song. I'm never burnt out on Radiohead slow songs, but like, say, this is off from Kid A. I'm not here. This isn't happening.
How to Disappear Completely.
How to Disappear Completely. Like, I love that song, and I love a lot of what you in particular had to say about the production and all that. For some reason, that isn't the highest for me, I'll just say, right? That's a song going back 23 years now. This song hits me like I think How to Disappear Completely hits a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. And, and they're separate songs and all that. I get it, but like, so much of this album works so well for me, and this is one of those tracks. Maybe like Harrow Downhill or something like that. I don't know.
It feels potentially like a similar meditation on kind of depression to me.
As How to Disappear?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Good, because that was a kind of a shot in the dark for me. But
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, the lyrics could be referring to more societal woes or more personal, but don't bore us, get to the chorus, open the flood shit. The flood shit. I just combined where he says you're bullshit with floodgates. Says, don't bore us, get to the chorus and open the floodgates. We want the good bits without your bullshit and no heartaches. Someone lead me out the darkness, out the darkness. I don't know. That feels like somebody talking to themselves a little bit.
And I love the guitar part. I love all that, Walker. And I love the guitar part that's weaving back in. That to me has vibes of the Numbers a little bit. That last part of the Numbers. Numbers is much faster, different type of song. But the way the two guitar parts kind of weave in at the end of the Numbers. I love what Nigel is doing from a production standpoint. And I love that we have Jonny Greenwood, I believe, on the guitar because Tom's rocking at the keys, I would presume.
And then I think Tom Skinner, at least live, he's doing these blips and bloops.
Absolutely. And I want to save what I love what Jonny is doing so much on this album, maybe for final thoughts, but I love the amount of guitar, the amount of tools that we hear Jonny Greenwood utilizing to their fullest potential.
I think it's interesting that you compare this to How to Disappear Completely because I just, in my headphones, heard another similarity, which is at the end, the reverb drops out of Tom's voice, and his voice is suddenly very up close, and that's what made me
think about it.
Man, that is such a cool, innovative trick to giving the listener the sensation of going from being an audience to kind of in the room with them. And production-wise, I also think this is sharing a lot of similarities with the approach on the opening track of this album, The Same, where you have this guitar part, this piano part, and these synth parts, but Nigel is just doing this really deft blend where they all kind of become one sound while not canceling each other out or ever being muddy. And I don't know how to describe it better than that. It's like you can hear each thing so crisply and cleanly, and yet it all is blended together without ever becoming samey.
Yeah, dude. I that's just so well said. And I just, your analysis of the engineering and what Nigel is doing on How to Disappear Completely, a song that I loved, a song that I have a very distinct memory of the first time I ever heard it. And a song that evokes the imagery for me of flying through, if I could flying through the clouds on an overcast, if not rainy day. And all of a sudden at the end of, when they drop out the reverb, sorry, listeners, I'm all of a sudden in the clear, I love that. That's my favorite part of the song. For me, though, this song achieves a similar feeling. And so that sounds like, pretty personal, like it just exists within me. But it's really, really hard to do that. And I love that Nigel innovated, obviously the whole band, but from an engineering perspective in the year 2000, 99 and 2000 when they recorded it, to me that is an innovation on the level of some of the stuff the Beatles done on Revolver, right? Maybe not an innovation in the same way, but as interesting or whatever. And then here we are in 2022 when the album was released, doing perhaps a similar technique and just not being dated. That's all. That's the last part of that song.
This song is called Free in the Knowledge.
Yeah, and I know that he's getting up there in years now, but I love that they got David Gilmour to guest on this song on the guitar.
It has been quite a while since we have gotten an acoustic-driven Tom ballad. I love when Tom does a ballad, and I would say that this song is very much that.
What do you think of my Gilmour comparison?
Oh, I think it's right on. This is a very Gilmour-y chord progression. This is really simple. You said you know how to play it. I have not learned this one, but I can hear that I could play it.
Sure.
And I want you to tell me what the chords are, because right here I hear it switches to the major from a chord it was doing the minor of. Is this part like ADE? I mean, is it that simple? What's going on here?
Well, let's let it just get through this. That's B minor. So when he says free in the intro, it's E minor, and then knowledge is A major, and then there's a D. You were correct. Back to G sus2, which is just G. And that everything is changed. And that's B minor. So yeah, he's just hopping around a lot. And then,
but it's that the verse is in the key of A, and it starts with an intro in E minor is what the weird trick is.
Well, and Soldiers on Our Backs, where he says backs, is an A minor 7. So you were absolutely right, Walker. Very, 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 very good very good active listening.
I mean, again, that's a really Beatlesy move that then Elliott Smith kind of like built his whole guitar vocabulary off of. And I know that Radiohead is I know that Radiohead is no stranger to putting the minor and major of a chord in the same song, but I feel like it's something that they are not as front and center with as it is in this song, to where I heard it right away.
Yeah,
it's usually in a chord progression that is weirder, and this song is a little more traditional folk ballad, pop, acoustic, type of thing. And again, I love that it's included. I don't think we would hear this on a Radiohead album, and I love that it has a home here.
Well, and what you just said is so right on, Walker, too, because it's really only the A minor 7 of Soldiers on Our Backs that does that. And not to get too much into the weeds, but I know a lot of our listeners are familiar with playing guitar or bass or drums or whatever to some extent. And even our non-musician listeners, I know that folks that don't play an instrument hear something different when they listen to Radiohead, right? That's not a hot take or whatever, right? But it is interesting, Walker, because you said, I know that they're using the minor of a chord that was, in the majors. In this case, it'd be A. It is interesting that it's A minor 7, which is less of a distinctly minor than just a regular A minor, right? A minor 7 listeners lives in this kind of middle ground, but and I think it hits your ear that way, which is all that to say. I just think it does strike you as a little bit simpler. But there's still what Thom is able to do with his vocals. I think about How to Disappear Completely again, when
this awesome piano outro.
I love this.
Dope.
There's a part in How to Disappear Completely, I'm not going to sing it, where it sounds like he changes keys, but all he does is go to a C major. And that's all to say, I think that Thom is such an amazing singer, and that I think that sometimes Radiohead's music and the way he picks his spots or where to come in and hover above a note or above a key is so unique that it can even strike your ears. There is no key change in How to Disappear Completely, but it sounds like there is. And same with that song. It strikes your ears as it's a very, very fun one. I can't wait to play it with you. It's really fun to play with other folks, and it's just such a good song.
I will say we'll go over the set list from when we saw them in our live episode, but we're not going to listen to live versions of the studio tracks. We're going to listen to all the unreleased material that they played. That we can, because I think it'll be really fun to kind of get reactions to those recorded and then see how those songs develop when the Smile makes a next album. Because fun fact, this Smile is in the studio. They released a social media post recently of a picture of Tom Skinner's drum set, and I believe said week 17, if I remember right, was
week 7, I thought.
Okay, fair enough. But in any case, they've been in the studio. There's going to be another album, and it'll be really interesting to hear how the songs change, what makes it on, what doesn't. Free in the Knowledge, I don't know that they for sure played everything else off this album, but damn near close, if not every song. And Free in the Knowledge was the only one that I was really looking forward to hearing that they did not play. But I could see why it's not a staple of the live set. It's obviously like a quiet one, even though the other guys are playing. It's primarily an acoustic song, and so they're maybe just working on different stuff. But I do love that song. Do you love it?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's up there with the True Love Waits live, from I Might Be Wrong live. It's a great song. I absolutely love it. I love the words to it too. Nothing more to add.
Now, this next song is one they played live, and I do want to talk about the live arrangement since we won't listen to the live version on our live episode. This is my favorite song on the album, and it is called A Hairdryer. Now, listen to this. Those openings on the hi-hat start on the 3 and 4. I'm going to start it over. So the way the drum beat starts, and this is a trick Radiohead does a lot too, where the other instruments come in on a beat that you don't expect, and it fundamentally changes what the drums or what the drum track, if it's on a drum machine, is doing. So in this, those little openings on the hi-hat he's doing start out on the 3 or 4, but then the guitar and bass come in on that, and it changes it to the 1 and 2, and I just think it's really cool. So one more time.
Man, well put. Oh wow, dude, you're right. I hadn't thought of it that way. Oh my god.
Now, the way the guitar part
for
and bass are
attention.
playing off each other here. Boom, doom, doom. Doom, doom, doom. I love the way the bass is answering the guitar.
Well, and this is a song, Walker, in which Thom Yorke is on the guitar and Jonny Greenwood's on the bass. And I just love the way they alternate, because Tom's bass guitar chops are, let me simplify, Tom's bass chops are not surprising, but I mean, I he's busier than I thought he would be, which I don't know why I underestimated Thom Yorke, but Jonny's chops are unbelievable.
Well, I mean, the thing is like he just plays it the same with the guitar. He just plays it in a way where you're like, that's different. It's just always different.
Yes, I think that the only difference for me, and that's not to disagree with you, is that Jonny's form, there's nothing about Jonny's posture that is. Jonny looks trained on the guitar. He doesn't do a thing wrong like, oh, well, he's made that work for him, or something like that. I think he plays the bass like a guitar. I told Walker when we were watching the Screaming Females at that show, I was like, Jonny Greenwood plays frets on the bass that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, he lives in like the 18th fret.
Yeah.
Now, I want to just point out those backing vocals we heard, those falsetto backing vocals. The way they play this live is Thom loops those and then stomps them in at a certain point. They play this song. I love this arrangement, this really restrained arrangement on the album, but they play it open and loud live, and that was really cool.
I prefer the live version of this song.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It is getting to the part where it kind of opens up here, which the latter part of the song is my favorite, even though I've loved everything that has come up before it. But right here, it goes into this instrumental break. And it'll probably do it 4 measures, right? 2. All right. 3.
Here it comes.
Cuts it off. This Look at All the Pretty Lights section is my favorite thing to sing and my favorite part of the entire album. It's like beautiful justice for the raindrops 47 times. Now we're saying look at all the pretty lights 47 times, but this time I'm here for it and I'm loving it.
Man, I could not agree with you more. I love what you said too about how it cuts. You're so expected because we're so accustomed to it, listeners, even with bands like Radiohead or whatever, but when they only go 3 measures, And the way it cuts everything, that's Nigel again. I might be wrong. There's so many songs where he does that so well, where it cuts and it highlights the genius of what you're just listening to. And if it's okay, I'd just like to talk about a little bit of what I think lyrically.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, I mean, a hairdryer, pulling from, again, this is from Pitchfork's review of the album. I don't want to pass off things written by other people as my own, but it poses the question, a hairdryer, is it likely alluding to the 45th president of the United States with its barbs about someone who flies south for the sun, right? That would be Palm Beach, I believe, Mar-a-Lago. Blames everyone else for his screw-ups and spins reams of lies. Certainly seems like a swipe at the magically insulated former head of the state. Does the world need another Trump diss track right now? Probably not. But will the anxious song, which skitters on the back of Skinner's pointillistic hi-hat work, I loved that this review is worth just that. Skinner's pointillistic hi-hat work feel increasingly relevant over the next couple of years as the world braces for the next clusterfucked United States presidential election? Most definitely yes. That's part of Yorke's power as a dystopian seer. Every description of the present seems to also foretell the future, which I just love, because that's what we were talking about with Noel, with each other. And I honestly think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've kind of come to really, really agree upon is that even with Hail to the Thief, which for sure, go back and listen to that episode, there's a lot of direct commentary on the thief, meaning he may have stole the election from Al Gore, whatever, but when you really read the lyrics, there's not that much specificity. And I think that is the way to be politically cynical and commentate. And that is why I personally love something like a Stanley Kubrick and like a Radiohead. They're not the same. They're totally different eras, but they're commentating on the human condition to a degree, and humanity and cynicism like that, to where you don't have to invoke specific things so much because it resonates throughout time. That's all. And that is my favorite song on the album.
Oh, nice. We agree.
Yeah.
What's your
ladies and gentlemen?
Favorite?
It's you know what? It's a toss up between Thin Thing and an upcoming song.
Okay, fair enough. This next song might be Zach's second favorite. It is called "Waving the White Flag." Oh, Zach, I'm sorry. I accidentally started playing the motion picture soundtrack of A Clockwork Orange. Let me just turn this off and we should listen to the smile.
Me and my drugs were recording a podcast. What part of A Clockwork Orange do you place this in? Like what part of the movie?
Him like walking alongside the
water.
River. Yeah.
After mom and dad have said we have the lodger.
Yeah, things are bad.
Too.
Yeah.
Me too, yeah.
This is another one that was a grower for me. I think it's awesome.
Oh, I love it. I think it's great. And I love that even though it's through like a Moog synthesizer of sorts, I love that you could still hear a lot of uniqueness in the musicality. I love Tom's voice in this song, Walker.
And they played this live, but I can't remember who was where, but this is sounding like a Jonny joint to me. Was he at the keyboard for this one?
I remember the rendition of the song being vastly different live.
Fair enough.
This is the point in the show, I will just say real quickly, where I stopped paying attention to the song titles because they were mixing in new stuff with song titles songs I was familiar with, and I entered into a state of ecstasy completely sober. This is the part of the show that they were amping up to their encore closing and all that, and now I'm going into territory we're going to do another episode. Suffice to say, it was enjoyable.
Isn't it funny you say that you entered into a state of ecstasy? I was just picturing like during this song, like if like cliched rock concert stuff is happening, like there's a girl on on her boyfriend's shoulders, like flashing the stage. There's panties getting thrown at Jonny. There's somebody's sucking on a nitrous balloon.
Yeah.
People are crowd surfing.
Yeah, no, it was the vibe of the concert was very much
it was a rock show for sure.
It was a rock
They were
show,
loud.
yeah.
And even songs like this, they really opened up in a super cool way.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. This song, that's why my memory of it's a little bit hazy, and I'm so excited to revisit that set. Walker, run to Vamp for a minute. I gotta pee.
Okay, fair enough. Wow, I've never been so scared. I feel like that scene in Wade's World where Garth has to host the show for a second, and he says, "I'm having a great time. Not." Okay, here's what I will say. Musically, that key change right there is super cool. I don't know if it was a key change or a modulation, but it changes in a really interesting way. And then the Moog synthesizer fades out, and what we start to hear is an acoustic guitar playing the part, but it almost sounds like a nylon string guitar. Listeners, write in. Is that a nylon string acoustic guitar or a steel string guitar? Zach, I was just wondering out loud if that ending part is being played on a nylon string acoustic. I almost think it is.
Ooh.
But I love the way everything else fades out until it's just Tom's voice and that acoustic guitar. It's like such a surprising climax to that song for it to build up that big to go to that.
Not since Little by Little has there been an a nylon string acoustic instrument present in the studio with Thom and Jonny, if that is the case.
Does he play a nylon string in Little by Little?
I don't know, but that's my contention, and I think
neat.
that Gilmorian upstroke sounds so much like a nylon, and I'm just going to say it is, you know?
I love it. Yeah. Well, you know what? This is, as we know, the definitive, if not officially sanctioned Radiohead podcast. So I think that we get to decide. There are two
Walker,
tracks.
what's going on tomorrow?
Well, Zach, unfortunately, we don't know what tomorrow brings. We should have been DJs. Now I'm hoping we're going to get a little more of this good weather that we've been having lately, but unfortunately, we don't know what tomorrow brings. This is The Smile. Now, this is an interesting thing about this song that I associate it with. This was the one time that, as far as I could catch, that live they struggled a little bit. They got off time with each other on this song. And we will get more into Tom's many frustrations.
How did Tom feel about that?
He looked pissed off.
Who do you think he was pissed at?
He looked mad at Jonny.
I thought so too, and I was like, I got a little bit like, don't be treating my man like that.
Yeah.
We all and it was probably somebody else's fault, not Johnny's.
Well, Jonny to me looked like he was complete Teflon. Like, I mean, Jonny Greenwood has been dealing with Thom Yorke's moodiness for, 40 years at this point, and he seems like the kind of person who is good at not letting it affect him. But yeah, this one, I'm sure it was just a monitors issue or something, but they struggled to get on beat with this one, which obviously I would not be happy for the show to be one rife with problems. Them having a hard time with one song was only humanized them to me.
I agree, and this song's live performance, despite that one issue, when have you ever heard this in a Thom and Jonny, that octave high playing? I mean,
Zach, this is another one to me that is very much in the camp of you will never work in television again, where I think Radiohead would not dare to do such a straight ahead song at this point in their careers. This sounds like pre Joshua Tree U2 to me.
It does, dude. It sounds so like New Year's Day or something.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, I agree so much.
Like the synth line and stuff like adds some weird flavor to it and everything like that. But this is like a kind of new wave post-punk driving rock song. Listen to those guitars.
Yeah. I love the U2, like October or Boy or
Totally. This sounds like some War.
which is my second favorite U2 album of all time, listeners. Oh,
I think this song rules, but it's really straightforward.
it sounds to me like second or third take vocal work as well, and in a good way. The vocals don't sound labored over.
I like this outro.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, by the way, if no rapper has sampled this outro yet and built a beat off that, hop to it. Don't you think that would sound cool?
I absolutely do. So, what's interesting about and I actually don't know if I have that moment, but I was filming most of this song when we saw it live. I did notice it. It didn't stand out as much to me as it did you. This song, as much as I love it, which is quite a lot, opened up for me having seen it live even more.
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited when they played it live, and yeah, I don't know. We could do a quick ranking of our favorites maybe after what is now the last song, but I suffice to say I love that song, and I love the comparisons you just made, Walker. That was so great.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
This last song on the album is called Skirting on the Surface. This was also released ahead of the album as a single. I believe the third one. And I will say the formerly called Skating on the Surface, but the A has been replaced with an R because this is Skirting on the Surface, spelled Skrting. And it goes a little something like this.
Oh God, so cool. Can I just quickly say when
guitar tone is so effing gorgeous. The instrument just sounds like butter.
Well, you can hear. I love when you could hear the human quality. To me, it feels very Reckoner in terms of guitar tone.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to quickly say when Thom and company intentionally misspell a word, I'm thinking of Analyze from The Eraser. My favorite song on the album, and one of my favorite Thom and company songs ever. Oops, didn't mean to give too much of a peek there. And this song I would include in that camp as well, just because of the intentional misspelling. I adore this song. It's only grown on me because of how complete the album is in a stylistic variation. I had a little bit of a anxiety when I had only heard. I don't think I had heard "You'll Never Work in Television Again," even if that was released first. I thought it was going to be this calm, but because of the variation of rock, even the song before this makes me love this song even more. It's just so perfect. You know what I'm saying? Because we get the driving loudness. Yeah. Those are kind of my general thoughts.
This is a song, too, where I noticed that Tom Skinner, he has such a soft touch.
Yeah.
With how he plays. I mean, he's playing with sticks, but he almost like plays with sticks like they're brushes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
well, jazz. His jazz repertoire.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I brought this up right when they cut out, but there's so many snare hits in what he's playing. I love the way he kind of alternates between the snare and the hi-hat as if he's keeping time with both of them. Like his snare hits don't feel like they're just for punctuation the way they would be in normal drumming. It's kind of like the count is going on both the snare and the hi-hat.
Yes, yeah, and that's what great drummers do at this level. And listeners, I know being a great drummer, there's John Bonham, there's Dave Grohl, there's Trey Cool from Green Day, but I think what a drummer like Thom Skinner does is he plays the drums. Drums are typically thought of as monophonic. Mono meaning one. I'm not telling you, Walker, but listeners, mono meaning one. So snare is always going to sound the same conceivably when you hit it. A guitar would be polyphonic, piano polyphonic, poly, more than one. However, the drums are not that way. You can achieve a polyphonic sound and you have to work much harder as you have to do with everything on the drums. And I feel like that's what Tom Skinner. Oh, I love this chord change right here. But I feel like that's what Tom Skinner, other drummers like that can do, is they achieve a polyphonic sensibility, like exactly like what you just described, Walker. It's really cool. Different ways of saying the same thing, but really cool.
This is such a beautiful closer, and it sounds like a relatively simple chord progression played kind of throughout, but then this, I'm going to use your word, and then this oscillating effect happens.
Yeah.
Where I think with a delay effect, these chords are kind of stumbling on top of each other during these breakdowns. Oh, there's Richard Stillman on the saxophone. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I was going to make a joke that he looks like a more handsome Thomas Middleditch.
Oh, I thought so too. Yeah, I was like, oh, that guy looks like Thomas Middleditch from here.
Yeah. but better looking.
Yeah, and hopefully less.
You know what? I'm okay objectifying this guy in a better way than Thomas Middleditch based on what I've learned of that guy. I'll just say that much.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that fun to be around, especially if you're a lady.
I love this song, Walker, and I mean I'm so excited to get into closing thoughts, but I think it's a very adventurous closer. Well, this is a Smiles only band, so I'll save my general thoughts. I would just say, looking at the whole of Thom and Jonny, the closer for their albums, I would say this is both reminiscent of a song and uncharacteristic as well. It's my little trailer for 5 minutes from now. I just started too early.
Well, we look forward to that, Craig.
This reminds me of the part in Wayne's World where they don't know the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. They're just good.
Oh, yeah, just like nodding along. That's funny, Zach. While you were going pee and I had to vamp, I started doing the Garth thing of, I'm having a great time. Not.
I love it. I mean, I feel like between the two of us, if one of us had to vamp, I would be more the Garth, but that's great because that is one of my favorite scenes.
It was surprising to me how panic stricken I felt when you said you were getting up for 2 seconds, but I think I did okay. But the listeners will be the judge of that.
All right,
Zach, I think we're at the time. I think that we're at something you teased what feels like up to 3 minutes ago. What are your general / closing thoughts on A Light for Attracting Attention? We just listened to the whole thing. Hit me with it.
Man, I love that album so much. I love it on its own merits. Its own merits being not a Radiohead album. Now, when you have somebody as accomplished as Thom Skinner, and then obviously as accomplished resume-wise, you know, they're in the zeitgeist. Anything they do is going to be examined with a great level of detail. It might not be automatically celebrated. I'm speaking of Thom and Jonny. But yeah, so on those merits, just those three individuals, I think it's a fantastic album. Again, for the 10th time, I was uncertain how I wanted to try and couch my thoughts, you know, comparing it to A Moon-Shaped Pool, comparing it to this or that. But I think that's the way to go. This is Idiot Talk Radiohead podcast. I rank this with an asterisk among my favorite work of theirs. And I would say, to dive even deeper, the album it reminds me the most of is Hail to the Thief, but a much more successful execution. And I don't like it more than Hail to the Thief. That's not what I'm saying. But if we're kind of going 1-to-1, I think that it succeeds against A Moon-Shaped Pool in that the orchestral moments are a spice. They don't dominate songs. And I've realized that is one of my issues with The Moon-Shaped Pool. Is not that I think that it's disingenuous and that Jonny Greenwood, you know, didn't play that, or that it's all digital or something like that, and they're saying credit to Jonny Greenwood. No, it is Jonny Greenwood. To me, it's over the top a little bit in some of that album. We're not talking about that album today, but I didn't get an opportunity to throw that in. Maybe we will in a future episode, but I hope we leave that in because I think it's so impressive. But I hear Jonny Greenwood on conducting an orchestra and on the guitar and on the synth and on the harp but it's used sparingly in this album, and I love it. And I just love the driving, energetic nature of it. That closer that I said, I'll give you my thoughts on. The reason why I brought up Hail to the Thief is because it reminds me of an optimistic version of Wolf at the Door. Not in its instrumentation and its singing, or they're not even similar in that regard. But if we're thinking album closers, it certainly reminds me more of that than like Videotape, or something like that. And I just, I don't know. I'm contradicting myself every other sentence by saying I love it on its own, but here's a Radiohead. Well, whatever, you listeners, if you're listening this long, you can suffer through us a little bit more, or us and you know where my heart's in the right place. I just adore that album. When we do our ranking, I don't think it should be included in it, but I cannot help but invoke a Moonshaped Pool and some of their other catalog. It's the most excited I've gotten in a very, very long time. And I mean, I think I saw Pitchfork give it an 8.6. That album gets a 98% for me. It's an A+.
Very well said. I don't know if you saw me kind of like smugly laughing.
I did. I was
during some of it. Well, Zach,
excited.
I was laughing because I was going to say the exact same thing about Hail to the Thief, which is that to me, this album is a rehabilitation of the approach used on Hail to the Thief, where this thing is not by any stretch what I would call a super cohesive record.
Totally.
It is a grab bag. There is kind of everything plus the kitchen sink on this album. But in this case, I love it about it. And I think that the difference to me as a listener seems to be this is what you get from that approach when you have somebody who is incredibly livened up and excited about what they're doing versus somebody who is reaching a point of like career exhaustion. I'm not going to relitigate all our HTTT right here. Okay. But I think that it just, it was a maybe point of lower enthusiasm in Radiohead's career. And this is a point of openness, excitement, and newness. And
they don't need to renew their vows. They have been fucking like rabbits on their vacation.
We're in the honeymoon stage, baby. We're in the honeymoon stage. And not only that, we've decided we're going to try for a baby. So let's throw all those Connies away and just get to the raw dogging. And that's what we're getting with this album is Thom raw dogging. And it does get me to my general thoughts about this record, which is that the Smile can't compete with the Radiohead legacy at this point.
Totally.
And so I'm always going to have a special place in my heart for something that has that name and has those five guys. But if this is what it takes for Thom and Jonny to be this excited about music, a new band, then bring it on, because I love this album. I think it belongs up there with some of the great debuts, the Velvet Underground, Weezer's first album. Is this it? Like,
can't forget about my boys, the TMV.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it has the energy of a great debut of a band going, hey, here's the last 10 years of our best ideas. Yeah. Except what's amazing is with the Smile, it's, hey, here's 2 years of ideas. But
it's your turn to give your general thoughts. But I love what you just said. But it is the last 2 years, but also it's the last 10 of what we haven't been able to. Not like anyone's restricted them, but like this is the rock.
That's true. And that's true. And it's not the last 10 years of Thom ideas, because he does have a solo album, but it is the first band project that he's done since. So it does stand to reason that there's songs that maybe potentially would have been Radiohead songs that he's like, well, now I'm doing this new band. Let's dust this thing off. That's really it. I mean, all I got to say is this thing has 13 tracks and there isn't a single one I don't like. And there isn't a single one that I really think stands out as notably weaker than any of the other ones. I have my favorites, but I really was kind of struck by that listening to it, getting ready for this episode, that it's like, I knew I really liked this album. I knew that I really loved the show these guys put on. And there's clearly a lot of excitement in this project. And I feel the same about the next album. We'll talk about it in the live episode, but the new shit they played is all over the place. And I am glad that that spirit of discovery has found a home in this band, because Radiohead is a brand. And the Smile brand is still being defined, and that is really, really exciting. And it's hard for me, because of my attachment to what Radiohead is and what they represent for me. It's hard for me to rank this with the best of the Radiohead work, but all I know is now there's another band that I also love, and it's the Smile, and this album is a 10 for me.
Absolutely. When I said 98%, that is a 10.
Oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
No. I love
98% is another great way to say that.
Yeah, and I don't even know though if it were a paper and I was grading it, where that missing 2%. I love what you said about how like I love all of it. Some songs stand out more than the rest, but like there's not any skippers or whatever. And then having seen them live, like, I did feel, I can never say with absolute certainty, but I do believe that I felt the same way I did before having seen them live. That is always going to enhance the value of an album. If the band puts on a great show, which obviously they did. The last little thing I would want to say is that I know that we're going to do an episode in which we rank the Radiohead albums. We'll do a little pre-planning before if this is going to be included or not. But listeners, I do just want to say it's I couldn't help but compare this back against the other part of the Radiohead catalog. When I said it was a more successful execution of Hail to the Thief, the There's, the 2 + 2 = 5, those are amongst my favorite Radiohead songs ever, amongst my favorite band ever. So I don't mean that like the songs on it, sum total, are better. But yeah, to what you said, Radiohead are a brand, and I love that we got to have Noel Brown on the show. I love it, love it, love it. I appreciate it so much. But where he said, I don't really see it as a reinvention, I disagree. I think this band sounds different than Radiohead.
Yeah, me too.
And I am more interested in the work of Thom and Jonny, who are 50 to 55-year-old men, than I am any other band that, granted, Radiohead are my favorite band, but like, I love that you two are still making music and I respect their legacy and all that. Part of it is their age. That, has to be disinterested. I'm not ageist, but this is the most brilliant reinvention I have ever seen in my life. And I just appreciate it so much. And I love doing this episode so much with you, Walker. It's always such a treat and a joy. And that's all I have to say.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that the way Thom, as the mouthpiece of this band, as we know, Jonny, famous for not being particularly verbose, and Tom Skinner is the drummer, which never tends to be front and center, and is the, is coming in as a less known entity in this project. So naturally, Thom, as the principal songwriter, singer, and forefront-facing member, is kind of the mouthpiece. And every time I hear him refer to what the Smile is, he uses the words new band. That's what he said in all the quotes that I saw about him introducing songs. And it's what he said when we saw them before they played the first song. Yeah, he said it before they played the first song that was not on the album, that people were not going to recognize. He said, we're a new band, so we're going to play some new songs if that's all right. And then, of course, we all went, woo, letting him know, yes, Thom, it is all right if you play new songs for us. We love you, even though you seem pretty mad at us about how cold this venue is. Which we will get into in more detail next week when we talk about our experience seeing the Smile and all these new songs that may or may not end up on the next record. Zach, I loved going through this with you. Listeners, I know this was a long one, but it's a long album, and we just, really think that this project warrants some in-depth coverage. So I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking about it. In the meantime, we will be back next week on a Friday to talk about the Smile North American Tour. I have been Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn.
We'll see you next week, listeners.
Bye.
Bye. Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. And thanks for listening to